Chapter 22:11. I'm going to take back what belongs to me and fuse your divinity into my body. Today you must die. God Kerr said arrogantly, with my current strength, do you think I'm afraid of you? If you have the ability, take back what belongs to you, and I'm going to take back what belongs to me. I'll have a good taste of your flesh and blood, and if I devour you, I'll become the most terrifying existence in the godly world. Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he took out a black and blood-red sword that gave off an ancient aura. Let's see just how much stronger you become over the past 10 years. When Zhao Fu took out that sword, everyone stared at it in shock, causing another uproar. Holy crap! Wasn't that the peerlessly vicious sword that had caused such a huge commotion? How did it end up in that person's hands? Of course, he's that peerlessly vicious sword's owner. Who would have thought that he had hidden himself so deeply? Now, there's going to be a good show. That person's power is unimaginably terrifying, or else he wouldn't be able to wield such a peerlessly vicious sword. That's right. When that peerlessly vicious sword appeared, the heavens and earth seemed to change, and the clouds swirled. Spirit Chi became chaotic, and it gave off a world-destroying might. I still remember it clearly. It's definitely a supreme weapon. Ever since that peerlessly vicious sword appeared, I've been paying attention to it, but there was no news of it. It was as if it had disappeared, and the person who wielded that peerlessly vicious sword also disappeared. Now that he has finally appeared, I never thought that it would be him. The more this person thinks about it, the more afraid he becomes. Just how many terrifying things is he hiding? As expected, in the final stages of the competition, all of the mysteries will be revealed. When that time comes, we'll definitely know his identity. I'm on that person's side. With that peerlessly vicious sword in his hands, he'll be able to kill gods and Buddhas. Who dares to stop him? The experts all looked quite surprised. They all cared about that peerlessly vicious sword, but they had never thought that it would be in Zhao Fu's hands. That person had simply hidden himself too deeply, and only now was he willing to reveal his identity. The demon god emperor's people's expressions fell. They understood how terrifying that peerlessly vicious sword was, and they felt a wave of pressure. Facing such a terrifying person, could God Kerr still win? God Kerr's power could rival that of an emperor's star, and Zhao Fu understood how terrifying it was, so he had used the emperor-killing sword. Moreover, Zhao Fu had not used the emperor-killing sword this entire time in order to avoid unnecessary trouble. Now that the competition had reached its final stages, there was no need to hide anymore. After speaking to God Kerr, Zhao Fu turned to Shun Xianhua and the other women and said, "Stay away." After saying to the God Kerr, Zhao Fu turned and said, "Shun to the god." Hearing Zhao Fu's words, God Kerr took out its pitchfork and gave a confident smile as it said, "My power far surpasses your imagination, and I'll definitely be able to kill you. To chin I god, I chun I to god I chun to the god." Boom! A massive aura exploded out from Zhao Fu's body as a black aura flame appeared around him. Wild gales continuously blew out, and the ground started to crack. Zhao Fu had used his full power right from the start. Bringing with him this massive power, Zhao Fu held the emperor-killing sword and rushed towards God Kerr. Boom! God Kerr did not dare to be careless, and it also exploded out with all of its power. Its body gave off an intense demonic light, and a shocking demonic might spread out, causing the ground to continuously crack. By now, Zhao Fu had arrived in front of it, and his sword gave off a massive black sword light that seemed to be able to split apart mountains as it slashed towards God Kerr. God Kerr sent some of its power into the pitchfork, causing it to give off boundless demonic light. God Kerr vigorously swung, and a massive black arc of light containing terrifying power slashed toward Zhao Fu. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the two attacks collided, and a black shockwave rippled out. The ground in the surrounding 1,000 meters collapsed, and black light shot everywhere, blocking everyone's vision. Shing! A massive sword hum sounded out as the black light dissipated. Everyone saw Zhao Fu come in front of God Kerr and swing his sword, sending out a black sword light as he slashed towards God Kerr. God Kerr flapped its wings and flew into the sky, dodging Zhao Fu's sword strike. It then stretched out a hand, causing countless traces of demonic chi to flow out, forming a massive demonic hand that gave off shocking power as it grabbed toward Zhao Fu, seeming as if it could not be stopped. Looking at the incoming demonic hand, Zhao Fu sent some of his power into his sword and slashed out, slashing out a massive sword arc that cut the demonic hand in half, causing it to turn into demonic chi and dissipate. Following this, Zhao Fu kicked off the ground and leapt into the sky, his sword giving off a powerful sword light as he continued to slash towards God Kerr. God Kerr did not feel any fear, and it looked incredibly savage as it raised its pitchfork and slashed toward Zhao Fu. Clang! The sound of metal colliding rang out as the pitchfork and sword collided, causing countless sparks to fly out as a massive gale blew out. God Kerr's expression became savage, and its body gave off an even more intense light as it sent a powerful wave of power into the pitchfork and slammed it down, knocking Zhao Fu back to the ground. Zhao Fu had blocked most of the power and was able to stably land on the ground. He was not injured at all, and he looked at God Kerr in the sky as the golden pupil in his left eye started to spin, causing a formless energy to spread out. Shing, shing, shing. Black chains shot out from the ground, giving off immense power as they quickly shot towards God Kerr. God Kerr suddenly flapped its 3 pairs of wings and disappeared, dodging the countless chains and appearing in front of Zhao Fu. Its pitchfork gave off immense power as it stabbed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's expression was cold as he dodged to the side, dodging God Kerr's attack and appearing next to it. His sword gave off immense power as he slashed towards God Kerr. God Kerr hurriedly used its pitchfork to block, but its body was sent flying dozens of meters away. However, it was not injured. Boom! In that moment, an even greater aura flame erupted around Zhao Fu's body, forming a savage black dragon. It gave a massive roar and gave off a massive aura as it ferociously charged at God Kerr. God Kerr sent a wave of power into its pitchfork, causing it to give off boundless demonic light as a gigantic pitchfork image appeared. Bang! God Kerr vigorously stabbed out, and a massive pitchfork image gave off terrifying power as it stabbed out, causing the terrifying black dragon to explode. A massive explosion sounded out as a large crater was smashed open in the ground, and countless traces of black aura spread out. Suddenly, Zhao Fu appeared in front of it, and his sword gave off a powerful sword light as it slashed towards God Kerr. God Kerr hurriedly unleashed a defensive barrier to block. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the defensive barrier shattered, and God Kerr was once again sent flying. It crashed into a large tree, breaking it in half and causing a massive sound to ring out. Blood leaked out of God Kerr's mouth, and it crawled up from the ground with a savage look on its face. A massive wave of power spread out as a massive demonic face appeared behind it. It was thousands of meters wide and looked quite terrifying, and it gave off a massive aura. Boom! The demonic face opened its mouth and gave off a massive aura as it leapt towards Zhao Fu. Its mouth seemed to be able to devour a mountain. Zhao Fu was unable to dodge such a massive attack, and he raised his sword and sent a massive wave of power into it. The sword gave off an intense sword light that illuminated the surroundings, and a shocking sword aura spread out. Shing! Zhao Fu vigorously slashed down with his sword, sending out a massive black sword light that seemed to be able to cleave apart everything as it slashed towards the gigantic demon. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the demonic face was slashed apart, resulting in a massive explosion. A terrifying shock wave blasted out, causing the ground to crack as a massive gale blew out. Swish! At that moment, a pitchfork containing terrifying force shot towards Zhao Fu incredibly quickly. Shing! The sound of metal clashing could be heard as sparks flew everywhere. Zhao Fu sent a wave of power into his sword and vigorously slashed out, sending the pitchfork flying. God Ker's body suddenly appeared beside Zhao Fu, and it punched towards Zhao Fu with immense power, bringing with it a terrifying wind. Zhao Fu immediately released a black barrier with dragon inscriptions, which gave off a faint light and seemed quite sturdy. Bang! That powerful punch shattered the barrier, causing countless shards to fly everywhere as a massive explosion sounded out, and the fist continued toward Zhao Fu. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu reacted, and his sword gave off a sharp sword light as he slashed towards God Ker. God Ker flapped its wings and quickly retreated, disappearing from where it was. Boom! A massive wave of demonic chi exploded out as God Ker appeared in the sky. The demonic chi formed a monster with the head of a demon and the body of a cow, and God Ker brought this monster toward Zhao Fu. It was incredibly fast and arrived in front of Zhao Fu and vigorously punched out. The monster gave off shocking power as it charged toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu gave off a massive aura as he blocked with his sword. Bang! A massive sound rang out as Zhao Fu was sent flying by the monster, and a trace of blood leaked out of his mouth. God Ker gave a savage smile and grabbed at the air, causing the pitchfork to fly into its hand. Holding the pitchfork, God Ker continued to rush toward Zhao Fu. Chapter 22:12. Boom! Facing the incoming God Ker, a massive wave of ghostly chi flowed out of Zhao Fu's body, turning into countless ghosts that howled and gave off a shocking aura as they charged at God Ker. God Ker gripped its pitchfork and sent a massive wave of power into it. It vigorously swung, and a massive arc of light containing enough power to slash apart slashed forwards. Bang! 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 The flood-like wave of ghosts was slashed apart by the massive arc of light, turning into countless traces of ghostly chi and giving off massive sounds. Shing! At that moment, Zhao Fu raised his sword and vigorously slashed out. A massive sword hum sounded out as a terrifying sword light containing destructive power slashed forwards, bringing with it a sharp sword wind. God Ker sent a massive wave of power into its pitchfork and stabbed forwards, causing a massive black ray of light to shoot forwards with shocking power. Bang! An explosion sounded out as the two rays of power collided, resulting in a massive explosion. A terrifying shock wave blasted out, causing the ground to crack and countless rays of black light to shoot out. Swish! God Ker shot out from the black light like a ray of light and arrived in front of Zhao Fu. Its pitchfork gave off shocking power as it stabbed towards Zhao Fu, piercing through Zhao Fu's body like a bolt of lightning. This caused God Ker to feel quite startled. Even though it felt that it had hit Zhao Fu, it didn't believe that Zhao Fu would die so easily. As expected, it immediately sensed a wave of danger, and Zhao Fu appeared by its side, slashing towards it with immense power. Zhao Fu's left eye gave off a glass-like light. God Ker hurriedly exploded out with power, and a massive demonic face once again appeared in front of it, opening its mouth and devouring Zhao Fu. This face was a demonic face of nothingness. As long as one was swallowed by it, their body would be digested in nothingness. However, even though the demonic face had devoured Zhao Fu, God Ker did not relax at all, and it looked around warily. It didn't believe that Zhao Fu would be so easy to deal with. But after waiting for a while, Zhao Fu's body did not appear. God Ker thought about it and sent a powerful wave of energy into the pitchfork before stabbing it into the ground. A powerful wave of demonic chi flowed into the ground as a black magic formation appeared, and a black barrier of light spread out, covering the surrounding 10,000 meters. This was his emperor's domain, and he did not believe that Zhao Fu would be able to hide. Clang! At that moment, Zhao Fu appeared in front of God Ker and slashed towards it. God Ker used his pitchfork to blocking Zhao Fu's sword. Looking at Zhao Fu's glassy eyes, God Ker realized something and coldly laughed, saying, "Your illusions are useless against me now." Zhao Fu's face was cold as he shouted, "Sword Master!" Boom! A massive wave of sword chi exploded out from the sword, sending God Kerr flying. Clang! Zhao Fu raised the sword in his hand, and a sword light shot into the sky. Heaven and earth power continuously gathered, forming a black sword formation that gave off an aura of annihilation. God Kerr's expression fell as it felt an intense sense of danger. Boom! 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 The black sword formation spun as terrifying sword lights containing destructive power descended from the sky. They were incredibly fast and seemed unstoppable. Bang! 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 Massive sounds rang out as countless black sword lights descended. The ground, trees, mountains, and everything else were destroyed. The countless black sword lights covered one's vision, and a massive sword chi spread out. After everything settled, there was a massive crater that was thousands of meters wide, and there were traces of sword chi coming out of the crater, causing everyone to feel an incredibly cold feeling. God Kerr's figure could not be seen within the crater. This attack was incredibly terrifying, but no one believed that God Kerr would lose just like that, and they all stared at the crater. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a black ray of light shot into the sky from the ground. A figure appeared, giving off an incredibly terrifying aura. Countless rays of black light shined out from his body, covering the entire world, making it seem as if the world had darkened. A terrifying power flowed out from God Kerr's body. This power seemed to be formed from countless traces of divine power, and it was incredibly terrifying. It was as if the world could not withstand it, and the ground continuously collapsed. Now, God Kerr had become incredibly powerful, and it had 3 pairs of wings on its back. One had black scales, and the other had black feathers, and its eyes had become 3 black jade heads. There was also a black wheel of light on his back that had runes on it. It was incredibly profound and mysterious, and it gave off a terrifying divine might. Zhao Fu held his sword as he looked at God Kerr in the sky, and his expression was serious as he said, "You've actually raised 10,000 godly power to such a terrifying level. You've been working quite hard these past few years." God Kerr stood in the sky and looked at Zhao Fu as it said, "Even though this power came from you, after 10 years of continuous development, this 10,000 godly power has long since become different from yours. Today, I will use it to kill you." Zhao Fu coldly laughed. "You're too confident." God Kerr did not say anything else and stabbed out with its pitchfork, causing a massive black ray of light to shoot towards Zhao Fu with shocking power, resulting in a massive explosion. Shing! Zhao Fu sent some of his power into the emperor-killing sword, causing it to give off boundless sword chi. He vigorously slashed out, and a sharp sword light slashed the black ray of light in half, causing it to turn into motes of light and disappear. Boom! A powerful aura exploded out as the wheel of light behind God Kerr became dozens of times bigger. Divine runes lit up and slowly spun, and countless rays of black light containing terrifying power shot towards Zhao Fu like a rain of light. Bang! 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 As the black beams of light landed on the ground, they blasted open large holes in the ground. Countless rays of light shot out in all directions, causing rocks to fly everywhere. A shocking shock wave spread out, creating a terrifying scene. Countless clouds of dust obscured one's vision. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out, and a seemingly corporeal killing intent surged out, forming a massive storm that blew away all the dust that blocked his vision. A terrifying figure appeared in front of everyone. His eyes gave off a dense blood-red light, and he wore a black cloak and held an ancient sword. His body gave off traces of black blood-red chi, and he gave off a berserk killing intent and destructive sword intent. Even the space around him could not withstand it and continuously twisted. Chapter 22:13. Everyone looked at that person in shock, and they understood that that person had used the power of a peerlessly ferocious sword. That cold sword intent and berserk sword intent caused everyone to feel a sense of fear, That sword could slaughter everything. God Ker's expression became serious, and it pointed its pitchfork at Zhao Fu. The surrounding heaven and earth power flowed into that pitchfork, causing a shocking aura to spread out. Boom! God Ker pointed with his pitchfork, and the pitchfork shot out a massive black ray of light, bringing with it a world-destroying power as it shot toward Zhao Fu. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as countless rays of black light shot out. The ground continuously trembled, and a shocking shockwave spread out, causing countless trees to sway. After everything calmed down, a 10,000-meter-wide crater appeared in the ground. The person standing at the center of the crater gave off a terrifying blood-red aura. Shockingly, he was not injured at all, and he looked like a peerless demon. Everyone looked quite shocked, not knowing what method Zhao Fu had used to block that terrifying attack. God Ker also looked quite shocked. It seemed that it had underestimated Zhao Fu's power. At that moment, Zhao Fu's blood-red eyes looked at God Ker in the sky. Zhao Fu slashed out, and a massive black and blood-red sword light, containing extremely sharp power, slashed toward the sky. It was incredibly fast and flashed by. God Ker felt quite startled, and it immediately used its pitchfork to block. Runes lit up on its pitchfork, giving off a boundless divine might. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the blood-red sword light quickly slashed against the pitchfork. The terrifying power caused the pitchfork to shatter, and a shocking shockwave spread out. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu stomped off the ground, causing the 100 meters around him to collapse. Zhao Fu's body turned into a black and blood-red ray of light as he shot towards God Ker. God Ker's expression was serious, and it sent a massive wave of power into its pitchfork, causing it to give off an intense black light. It vigorously swung out, and a terrifying arc of light containing shocking power slashed toward Zhao Fu. Shing! A sword hum sounded out as Zhao Fu swung his sword, causing a sharp sword arc to slash out, destroying the arc of light, and he continued to rush towards God Ker. God Ker immediately sent a wave of power into its pitchfork, causing a massive image of a pitchfork to appear, giving off a massive might. Boom! God Ker stabbed out with its pitchfork, and a massive image of the pitchfork gave off a power that seemed to be able to pierce through the world as it stabbed towards Zhao Fu, giving off a massive sound and a powerful gale. Before the image of the pitchfork could reach Zhao Fu, a massive gust of wind blew towards Zhao Fu's body, causing his cloak to flutter wildly. Zhao Fu sent some of his power into the Emperor Killing Sword, and a blood-red aura flame appeared on the sword on the ground as a terrifying killing intent and sword intent flowed out. Boom! Just as the trident phantom was about to stab Zhao Fu slashed out with his sword. A blood-red light flashed, and the world began to collapse. Bang! The two waves of energy collided, resulting in a massive explosion. The pitchfork image was slashed apart, and God Ker's body was sent flying back, blood leaking out of its mouth. God Ker looked furious and exploded out with a massive wave of power. A 10,000-meter tall figure appeared behind him. This was what God Ker had discovered. Boom! God Ker controlled its pitchfork and swung it towards Zhao Fu with unstoppable power. Bang! A massive figure sounded out as Zhao Fu's body gave off countless traces of black and blood-red sword chi, giving off terrifying sword energy as he blocked the pitchfork with immense power. God Ker looked furious as it raised its pitchfork. Countless rays of black light shot out from the pitchfork, illuminating the surroundings and forming a massive sword of light that continuously gave off a massive sword wind. Boom! The massive god statue gripped the black sword of light with both hands and slashed out with massive sword energy. A massive black sword light slashed out like a bolt of lightning, seeming to be able to split the heavens and earth apart. Bang! The sword light slammed into Zhao Fu's body incredibly quickly, and Zhao Fu's body was blasted back by the massive sword energy. His body was like a meteor as he heavily smashed into the ground, creating a crater that was dozens of meters wide. God Kerr's expression became savage as it sent more power into the massive black sword of light, causing it to give off even more shocking power. Boom! God Kerr once again slashed out, and a massive black sword light containing destructive power slashed toward Zhao Fu. It was incredibly fast, and it seemed as if nothing could stop it. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu was once again sent flying. The ground trembled and countless rocks flew everywhere as a massive sword gash appeared. It was 10,000 meters long and hundreds of meters wide. Zhao Fu crashed to the ground and coughed up a large mouthful of blood, and his body gave off countless traces of black and blood-red sword chi. God Kerr gave a savage smile and controlled the god statue to walk toward Zhao Fu. A massive wave of power once again entered the black sword of light, causing it to give off boundless light. A destructive power spread out, causing space to collapse. Zhao Fu half squatted on the ground and looked at God Kerr with his blood-red eyes, a trace of anger on his face. A terrifying killing intent and sword intent flowed out of Zhao Fu's body, and it was as if the gates of hell were slowly opening. The sun and moon dimmed as the heavens and earth started to tremble. Clang, 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 massive amounts of black and blood-red sword chi containing terrifying power flowed out of Zhao Fu's body and continuously shot out. Each strand gave off berserk killing intent and destructive sword intent as they madly slashed towards the heavens and earth. The ground, air, rocks, grass, and trees were all slashed apart by the strands of sword chi. Countless strands of black and red sword chi flowed out, seeming to be able to destroy the heavens and earth. They instantly spread out, seeming to be unstoppable as they devoured the entire world. Massive sounds continuously sounded out as destructive shockwaves continuously flowed out, causing the heavens and earth to seem as if they were on the verge of collapse. At that moment, Tianyu, Mielu, and the others all looked incredibly shocked. This power was simply too terrifying. Everyone else felt as if they had fallen into a bottomless abyss, and boundless darkness swept over them. Their hearts were filled with terror, and their bodies started to tremble. They did not know which two people were fighting, but such terrifying shockwaves had exploded out. They could not help but feel curious, and they once again hurried over. These shockwaves seemed to only be released by someone who had an Emperor Star. Chapter 22:14. Everyone outside the secret realm looked incredibly shocked. This power seemed to be able to destroy the heavens and earth, and it far surpassed anything they had imagined. Even the experts looked incredibly shocked, as expected from a peerless sword forged from celestial slaying sword intent. After everything settled, a 100,000-meter wide crater had appeared in the ground. There were sword gashes everywhere, and traces of black and blood-red sword chi rose up, causing people to feel despair. The ground around the crater had been shattered, and countless trees had been destroyed. Rubble was everywhere, and it looked like the aftermath of a disaster. At the center of the crater, Zhao Fu stood there, while God Kerr lay there covered with blood. The instant that the countless rays of sword chi had exploded out, God Kerr had chosen to defend with all of its strength. However, it was unable to defend against the terrifying sword chi, and its massive image had been shattered by the countless rays of sword chi, causing it to be heavily injured. Zhao Fu held the Emperor-killing sword and walked towards God Kerr. God Kerr crawled up from the ground with a look of hatred on its face. Now, it clearly understood just how terrifying Zhao Fu was, and its fear and worry over the past few years had not been wrong. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as God Kerr unleashed all of its divinity's power. It no longer held anything back, and a terrifying divine power fused together exploded out. God Kerr gave off countless rays of black light, which turned into a ray of light that shot into the sky, forming a massive pillar of black light. God Kerr's body automatically flew into the sky, giving off a sovereign's might. It originally had 3 pairs of wings, but now another 3 pairs grew out. 3 more black rings appeared from the black ring behind it, and they appeared on its left, right, and back. The one at the back was 2 meters wide, while the 2 on the left and right were only 1 meter wide. In the air, Godker coldly looked at Zhao Fu and stretched out a hand. The ring beside it flew in front of its hand and quickly spun, giving off a shocking power. Boom! Godker stretched out its hand and pressed down, causing the wheel of light to shoot out countless rays of black light that formed a massive arm. This massive arm was formed from black light, and there were god seals within it, giving off a terrifying aura of 10,000 godly power. The instant that the arm appeared, it gave off immense power as it slammed towards Zhao Fu, bringing with it a massive gale. Clang! Zhao Fu used his sword to block in front of him, his body releasing countless black and blood-colored sword chi as a defense. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the massive arm slammed into the sword. The air seemed to explode as a massive gale spread out, causing Zhao Fu's body to take a step back. This arm was the myriad god hand, and the power it possessed was far greater than what Zhao Fu had imagined. Ker's hand put away the 10,000 gods' hand and gave off a terrifying wave of 10,000 gods' power as it continued to blast toward Zhao Fu, its power even more terrifying than before. The strong wind it brought was getting fiercer and fiercer. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and sent some power into the emperor-killing sword. He vigorously slashed out, and a blood-red crescent slashed out, slashing apart the 10,000 god hand, causing it to turn into countless motes of black light and dissipate. Boom! At that moment, God Kerr stretched out its other hand, and the other ball of light flew in front of it. It quickly spun, and a black ray of light containing shocking power shot toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu dodged to the side, his body leaving behind a string of afterimages as he avoided this ray of light. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as countless rays of black light blasted out, blasting open a 1,000-meter wide crater in the ground. Shing! A sword hum sounded out as Zhao Fu's body suddenly appeared beside God Kerr, and his sword gave off sharp power as he slashed towards God Kerr. Bang! A wheel of light automatically flew to God Kerr's side and gave off a powerful wave of 10,000 gods' power, blocking Zhao Fu's sword strike and causing a massive gale to spread out. God Kerr coldly looked at Zhao Fu as the wheel of light on its back started to spin, giving off a terrifying power. Zhao Fu felt quite startled and hurriedly retreated. Boom! 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 The ball of light shot out rays of black light towards Zhao Fu with terrifying power and speed. Countless rays of black and blood-red sword chi covered Zhao Fu's body, but as the rays of black and blood-red sword chi slammed into them, massive shockwaves blasted Zhao Fu back to the ground. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu exploded out with all of the Emperor-killing sword's power, and his body gave off boundless black and blood-red light. 3-meter-long swords of light appeared around Zhao Fu's body, all of them giving off a cold sword intent and berserk killing intent. There were over 10,000 of them, and they gave off a terrifying sword aura, making it seem as if the sky was dyed red. Boom! 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 Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out with his sword, and the countless swords of light shot towards God Kerr in the sky. The scene of 10,000 swords shooting out was incredibly terrifying, and it seemed as if they could slash apart anything. Boom! God Kerr gave off a massive wave of power, and the 3 balls of light flew in front of it before combining into one. One wheel of light covered the other wheel of light. It became 10 or so times bigger. Divine runes lit up on each of the balls of light and continuously spun, giving off boundless black light as a power that reigned above all gods spread out. Bang! 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 Massive sounds rang out as the black and blood-red swords of light slammed into the wheels of light, causing countless rays of sword light to scatter. A terrifying shock wave blasted out, and the 3 balls of light were blasted apart. God Kerr was also blasted back by the sword energy. God Kerr coughed up a mouthful of blood and furiously roared, 10,000 gods. Boom! Boom! Massive explosions sounded out as powerful figures appeared in the sky. There were humans and beasts, and all of them gave off powerful divine power. These were all godly spirits that God Kerr had devoured. The 10,000 godly spirits filled the sky, and a terrifying divine might covered the heavens and earth. Everything seemed to stop, and it was as if the 10,000 gods ruled over everything. This scene was incredibly terrifying, and anyone who saw it would feel immense terror. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as God Kerr led the 10,000 godly spirits and charged at Zhao Fu. It was as if the gods were destroying the world, and the entire world fell into terror. Shing, 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 sword hums sounded out as Zhao Fu raised the emperor-killing sword, and a massive wave of power spread out, causing hazy figures to appear around him. These figures all had disheveled hair, and their eyes gave off a dense blood-red light. They held blood-red swords and gave off berserk, killing intent, and sword intent that seemed to be able to destroy everything. They filled the area around Zhao Fu, and it seemed as if the ground was filled with them. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu brought with him countless sword souls and rushed towards God Kerr. A murderous aura spread out, and everything seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Chapter 22:15. Bang! A shocking explosion sounded out as the 10,000 godly beings and the murderous sword soul collided. It was as if the heavens and the earth had collided, and an extremely terrifying power blasted out. Black light covered the entire world. The sky, mountains, ground, trees, rivers, rocks, swamps, and everything else started to collapse. Everyone's vision became pitch black, and they could not see anything. The massive explosion was deafening, and an aura of destruction flooded into their souls. Their bodies became icy cold, and it was as if the world had been destroyed. The people hurrying oversaw the black light cover the distance, and a terrifying shock wave rippled out. The ground was lifted up, and countless trees were uprooted as rocks flew into the sky. Seeing this, everyone hurriedly unleashed a defensive barrier to defend against that terrifying shockwave. Bang! 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 Countless rocks and pieces of wood smashed against the defensive barrier, resulting in massive sounds. Countless pieces of gravel whistled past their bodies, creating a terrifying scene. It was as if a catastrophe had descended, causing their bodies to feel a wave of terror. The terrifying shockwaves lasted for a while before stopping. Everyone dispersed their defensive barriers, and they saw that countless trees had been destroyed and rocks were everywhere. It was a complete mess. Everyone was shocked. Just which two people were fighting. They had actually caused such terrifying destruction. At the center of the shockwave was a crater that was nearly 1 million meters wide, and it gave off an extremely terrifying aura, making it so that no one dared to come close. Outside the secret realm, countless people looked incredibly shocked. This level of destruction was simply too shocking. It was simply heaven-destroying, and even gods would feel terror. This battle is definitely the most terrifying battle so far. It's as if two people with Emperor stars are fighting. It's so terrifying. Both of them are simply too terrifying. It's the first time I've seen such a terrifying battle. I've been completely convinced by them, and I can't help but feel admiration and worship towards them. That's right. Such powerful people can't help but feel admiration and respect. They'll definitely become figures whose names will shake the heaven-awakened world in the future. That's hard to say. Don't forget what kind of relationship they have. With such a deep enmity between them, only one of them will live. It's such a pity that one of them is going to die. I also feel that it's a pity. Both of them are peerless geniuses and can rival people with Emperor stars, but only one of them can live. Who do you think won now? I feel that God Kerr might win. That last attack, 10,000 gods, was terrifyingly powerful, and each of them had a different divine power and ability. Yes, That attack is incredibly terrifying, and I also think that God Kerr will win. I like that God Kerr more, so I hope that he will win. As for that person, even though he's very powerful, I don't know who he is, and he's too fickle. That person's final move was also very terrifying. Every single one of those sword souls had an extremely terrifying killing power that could slaughter the heavens and earth. There wasn't a single person who wasn't afraid. This attack is stronger than the myriad deities. We will soon know who the final winner is. You guys better stop talking and witness the fall of a peerless genius. Countless people stared at the pit nervously, wanting to see who would win. The scene became silent. The most nervous one was the demon god emperor, because God Kerr was their emperor and someone they had raised with all of their strength. He was the person they had placed their greatest hopes on, and they definitely did not want God Kerr to lose. If it was a normal competition, they could accept it. However, this was a life-and-death battle, and the loser would die. If God Kerr died, it would be a great loss for them. At this moment, there was no sign of any living creature in the pit. It was also silent, without a single sound. Bang! A sound suddenly sounded out as a blood-red sword light shot out of the ground, blasting apart the surrounding rocks, and Zhao Fu appeared before everyone's eyes. However, Zhao Fu was in quite a wretched state, and there were traces of blood on his body. Zhao Fu's blood-red eyes looked around and landed on a pile of rocks. He stretched out a hand and grabbed at it, causing a wave of energy to flow out. Bang! An explosion sounded out as countless rocks were blasted away. A figure covered with wounds and blood appeared. It was God Kerr. Everyone's hearts trembled, and they understood that God Kerr had lost. God Kerr no longer had any power and was heavily injured, but that person seemed to still have a lot of power. Everyone did not cheer like before, and they instead silently waited for things to develop. The demon god emperor's people's expressions were quite unsightly. God Kerr had lost, which meant that their hopes had been dashed, and their hearts were heavily wounded. The other experts also looked at the scene in the mirror and did not say anything, waiting to see what would happen next. By now, Tian Yu and Miel Lu had arrived. They stood in the air and looked at the scene in front of them in shock. Such terrifying destructive power was not any weaker than the two of them, and someone with such power definitely had the right to challenge or even defeat them. They also saw Zhao Fu and God Kerr, and they understood that the two people who had just been fighting were the two of them. Tian Yu looked at God Kerr in surprise. At first, he had felt that God Kerr was not as powerful as him, but it seemed that he had underestimated God Kerr. He had never thought that God Kerr would have such terrifying power to challenge him. However, he had lost to someone else, which meant that that person was even more powerful than him. Tian Yu looked at Zhao Fu. This was the first time he had seen Zhao Fu, and his first impression was that he was an incredibly dangerous person. Miel Lu's gaze fell on Zhao Fu's body, and she felt incredibly shocked. She had never thought that this bastard would have such terrifying power and hide it so deeply. Back when she had seen Zhao Fu, she had felt that he was not weak. However, the terrifying aura that he gave off was enough to threaten her, and she did not know just who this person was. Luli stood next to Miel Lu and gave a trace of smile. She knew that Zhao Fu was far more terrifying than she had expected, and she was not too surprised about this. That was why she had tried very hard to avoid Zhao Fu and Miel Lu from fighting. She did not know why, but she had a feeling that this was not Zhao Fu's true power. Zhao Fu's true power was even more terrifying than it was now, and it was very likely that he would become this generation's master of the gods. Even though she was one of Miel Lu's people and supported Miel Lu in becoming the master of the gods, the feeling that Miel Lu gave her was not as strong as the feeling that Zhao Fu gave her. Zhao Fu seemed to give off a formless, unstoppable aura. Chapter 22:16. Zhao Fu ignored those people and held the Emperor Killing Sword as he walked over to God Kerr. God Kerr's expression was dim as it powerlessly lay there. After risking its life for 10 years, it had still lost to Zhao Fu. Its confidence, arrogance, and hard work had taken a massive blow. Zhao Fu stood in front of it and said coldly, "You've lost." God Kerr looked at Zhao Fu, a trace of fury and hatred on its face as it said, "If I have the chance, I'll take revenge and become even stronger than you. I'll use my own power to defeat you and devour your flesh bit by bit." Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he said, "It's a pity that you won't have that chance. I'm going to take back what belongs to me." God Kerr said furiously, "Then give me back my divinity." Zhao Fu said mockingly, "I'm right here. You can come and take it. I'll also take good care of your flesh, and perhaps I'll have a good taste of it." God Kerr furiously glared at Zhao Fu as it cursed, "Bastard! I'll definitely kill you and make you suffer unimaginable pain." Zhao Fu did not waste any more words with it. He came in front of it and stretched out a hand, grabbing towards God Kerr's abdomen. "Arg!" God Kerr cried out in pain as Zhao Fu's hand pierced into its body, causing blood to spurt out. A cruel smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he grabbed the divinity within God Kerr's body and took out the pure black divinity. God Kerr's body was once again heavily injured, and its power quickly declined. Its life force quickly flowed away, and its expression froze as it died. A peerless genius who had been worshipped by countless people and whose fame had shaken the entire godly world in the future had died just like that. Outside the secret realm, countless people saw this scene. Although they had already expected it, they still could not help but sigh. Their hearts were inexplicably heavy. Not a single person cheered, and none of them looked happy. The atmosphere became quite oppressive. All of them felt pity and sorrow for the fall of a person with such potential. The demon god Emperor and the others furiously stared at the scene in the mirror. Now that Zhao Fu had really killed God Kerr, their last trace of hope had been destroyed. They were infuriated to the extreme, and they wanted to cut Zhao Fu into 1,000 pieces. That strong and domineering middle-aged man roared, "You must find out who that person is. I, the demon god Emperor, will not rest until he is dead." The people around him could understand how the demon god Emperor felt. A power that had spent so much effort to nurture and place their greatest hopes on had been killed. No matter which power it was, they would definitely be enraged. However, there were some people who rejoiced. God Kerr's potential was immense, and its future accomplishments were unimaginable. It would be of great help to the demon god Emperor. However, there were many disadvantages to it. After all, the demon god Emperor was simply too powerful, and he would definitely bully and attack them. As such, they all hoped that God Kerr would die. Within the secret realm, Tianyu, Mielu, and the others did not know about the relationship between Zhao Fu and God Kerr, but seeing Zhao Fu kill such a terrifying, peerless genius with their own eyes, they looked incredibly shocked. This was because even though they had Emperor stars, they did not dare to kill a peerless genius, as they all had terrifying factions behind them. If one could defeat one of their people, they would not be able to say anything. However, if one killed one of their people, there would be immense enmity between the two factions, and it might even lead to a war between the two factions. Moreover, even if there was no war, one would have to be careful in the future because they would definitely send even more powerful people to kill one, and one would not be able to stop them. However, Zhao Fu had actually killed such a terrifying, peerless genius. Moreover, this genius was not an ordinary genius, but the second-ranked genius from the demon god Emperor's peerless genius. Wasn't this just seeking death? Or did he have some sort of heaven-shaking identity that allowed him to ignore the demon god Emperor's threat? At the same time, they felt that it was a pity that such a person with shocking talent had died, just like that. Boom! Suddenly, an incomparably loud explosion rang out, and a massive might spread out with great power, enveloping the surrounding area. Everyone's expressions fell as they looked at Zhao Fu. At that moment, Zhao Fu held God Kerr's divinity in one hand and stood up from the ground. He felt a massive wave of fate enter his body, and that massive might was coming from him. However, he could not control it. Countless people did not know what was going on and looked quite confused. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions continuously sounded out as powerful ripples spread out from Zhao Fu's body, forming massive gales that swept out in all directions. The ground started to crack, and countless rocks were blown into the air. Tianyu and the others felt quite shocked. They could also feel a massive wave of fate continuously entering Zhao Fu's body. Those ripples were the ripples from fate. So why was there such a terrifying wave of fate entering his body? No one realized that not only was God Kerr affected by Zhao Fu's power, but had also absorbed Zhao Fu's fate for 10 years. Now that God Kerr had died, that wave of fate returned to Zhao Fu's body. It was not just Zhao Fu's fate, but also God Kerr's own fate, as well as the demon god emperor's fate. All of it entered Zhao Fu's body, and this was the godly world's fate. Waves of fate continuously flowed into him, and the ripples that Zhao Fu's body gave off became stronger and stronger. The weather started to change, and clouds swirled and the sun and moon dimmed. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as Zhao Fu's body uncontrollably gave off a black ray of light that shot into the sky, and a formless energy spread out. 9 massive, sinister-looking black dragons appeared. They were 1,000 meters long, and their bodies were covered with shiny black scales. They had 4 powerful dragon claws and a pair of jade-like dragon horns, giving off a domineering, dignified, and terrifying feeling. Roar! After the 9 black dragons appeared, they circled around Zhao Fu's body and gave off massive dragon roars. An emperor's aura that seemed to descend to the world flowed out, and the heavens and earth seemed to sink as if all creatures had to submit to them. Everyone could not help but look shocked. Such a terrifying emperor's aura could only be possessed by a true emperor. Was this person's true identity an emperor? Fate was split into a few types. Some emperors gave off emperor's fate, while some experts gave off emperor's fate. The 2 types of fate had different attributes and powers, so it was quite easy to distinguish them. Tianyu and Miel Lu's expressions were somewhat flabbergasted. They found in the face of this emperor's aura, they felt a slight desire to submit. However, they were emperor stars. Chapter 22:17. As a massive amount of godly world fate flowed into his body, Zhao Fu could almost sense the god race's supreme emperor star in the sky. It was no longer like before when he could only sense a trace of it. God Kerr's fate was incredibly great, and it was as if Zhao Fu had planted a seed in it. Now, that seed had grown into a large tree, giving Zhao Fu great rewards. It was a pity that he was still a short while away from awakening the god race's emperor star. However, because of God Kerr's fate, even if Zhao Fu did not become the ruler of all gods, he would have a chance to awaken the god race's emperor star. He just needed a portion of the god world's fate. The pure black divinity in Zhao Fu's hand was God Kerr's 10,000 deities divinity, and it contained powerful 10,000 deities power. This 10,000 deities power was only slightly weaker than Zhao Fu's 10,000 deities power, but it was still quite terrifying. Zhao Fu had personally witnessed just how terrifying the 10,000 godly power that God Kerr had unleashed was. If he could assimilate this godhead into his body, the 10,000 deities power would definitely complete its final transformation and become a true sovereign power. However, Zhao Fu did not intend to fuse with it now. Zhao Fu wanted to use it together after he obtained the Master God's power. At that time, the power of 10,000 gods would become even more terrifying, and it was very likely that it would surpass Zhao Fu's imagination. After putting the divinity away, Zhao Fu looked at God Kerr's corpse. Now, God Kerr's corpse lay there with a trace of unwillingness, anger, hatred, and pain on its face. It had been incredibly powerful in the past 10 years, but now it had died here. God Kerr's corpse was an incredibly precious treasure because its bloodline had reached the peak of the imperial bloodline, and its body contained terrifying 10,000 godly power. It also contained a massive amount of fate. No matter what he did, such as turning him into a puppet, disintegrating him into various materials, or even eating him would be of great use. Therefore, he did not let go of the corpse and carefully stored it in his storage ring. After settling everything, he turned his gaze to the people in the sky. Miel Lu couldn't help but ask, Who are you? Why does he have such terrifying power? And why did he kill God Kerr? Don't you know who he is? Zhao Fu was in a good mood because he had killed God Kerr and ended their 10-year enmity. He gave a trace of a smile as he said, "You'll find out who I am in the future. As for why I'm so powerful, I can't explain it in detail. Also, killing God Kerr was just a personal matter." Mielu was a little surprised. He was thinking about Zhao Fu's identity. Why did he know about it after the meeting? Was he very famous? Or would he reveal his identity later? Furthermore, it was just a personal grudge, yet he dared to kill a supreme heaven's favorite in front of everyone. Wasn't that just courting death? Couldn't he have chosen a more covert method? Now, that demon god emperor probably wanted to kill Zhao Fu in a frenzy. Now, it was not safe for Zhao Fu to go out without a few higher beings as bodyguards. From this, it could be seen how big of a mistake Zhao Fu had made. Mielu felt a trace of displeasure as she continued to say, "Can't you tell me who you are now? Why do you have to wait until later? I don't like the way you talk. Also, have you thought about the consequences of killing God Kerr?" Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "I can't. If you want to know, you could become my woman, and I'll naturally tell you who I am." Hearing this, a trace of anger appeared on Mielu's face. This was the first time a man had dared to speak to her like this. She was the owner of the god race's supreme emperor star and would become the most powerful existence in the world in the future. Everyone else felt quite shocked and felt that this person was incredibly daring. Not only did he have two peerless geniuses and so many beautiful women, but he also dared to have designs on the owner of an emperor's star. Even the #1 expert in the godly world, Tianyu, did not dare to have such thoughts, yet Zhao Fu had said it. No one else would dare to do such a thing, as everyone in the world knew how terrifying someone with an emperor's star was. Even if you also had an emperor's star, you would only be a good match for her and would not be 100% certain that you would become her man. Now, Zhao Fu dared to say such a thing? He also had an emperor's star? How daring! Even though Zhao Fu had defeated God Kerr, everyone felt that there was still a gap between Zhao Fu and Mielu. As the owner of an emperor's star, Mielu was even more terrifying, not only in terms of power but also in terms of status. On the other hand, Zhao Fu did not have a god race emperor's star, so they felt that there would be a big gap. What they did not know was that Zhao Fu already had 6 emperor's stars. It was just that he did not have a god race emperor's star. Moreover, Zhao Fu also had a woman with a god race supreme emperor's star, which was the moon god sprout that could go to the half-celestial world. The moon god sprout had the constitution of a celestial, and adding on the god race supreme emperor's star and the fact that the moon god sprout was being nurtured by a saint-grade faction in the half-celestial world, Mielu's potential would be fully displayed. Her future accomplishments would not be any lower than Mielu's, and she might even be more terrifying than Mielu's. On the other hand, Zhao Fu would have another supreme expert by his side. Shun Xianhua felt quite delighted. Zhao Fu had indeed been interested in the owner of an emperor's star, and she could take this opportunity to enjoy the feeling of having an emperor's star. Yu Chan looked at Shun Xianhua and revealed a malicious smile. She frowned and glared at him. Zhao Fu continued to speak. "Of course I know the consequences of killing God Kerr, but he must die today." From the very beginning, Zhao Fu knew God Kerr's identity and knew the consequences of killing God Kerr. However, Zhao Fu still wanted to kill him. Over the past 10 years, God Kerr had been affected by his own fate and power and had become such a terrifying person. If he was given another 10 years to develop, he would become even more terrifying than Zhao Fu could imagine. Facing such a person, Zhao Fu could be heavily injured and pay a heavy price. As such, no matter what, Zhao Fu had to kill God Kerr. Mielu felt quite shocked. This person actually knew the consequences and still dared to kill God Kerr. Was he really not afraid of the demon god emperor? After thinking for a moment, Mielu said, "Hurry and recover your strength. I want to see just how powerful you are." Right now, Mielu wanted to see just how powerful this mysterious man in front of her was. She wanted to know his identity and teach him a lesson. Last time, she had wanted to teach Zhao Fu a lesson, but she had been stopped by Lu Li. Now that Zhao Fu had set his sights on her, Mialu wanted to teach Zhao Fu a lesson and let Zhao Fu know just how powerful she was. She was not the kind of person who would take advantage of others while they were down, so she wanted to let Zhao Fu recover his strength and defeat Zhao Fu fair and square. She wanted to let Lu Li know just what kind of person she liked. Chapter 22:18. However, Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "Apologies. I'm not planning on doing that." Now, there was no need for Zhao Fu to fight with anyone else. After defeating God Kerr, he had obtained a large number of points and was now at the top of the rankings. All he needed to do was fight with the final victor. Mialu had never thought that Zhao Fu would directly refuse. As a high and mighty person who was worshipped by countless people, how could he not dare to fight? Mialu said angrily, "Why? I said that I would only fight after you recover your strength. I won't do despicable things like you. Or are you afraid?" Zhao Fu laughed as he said, "You think I'm afraid of you? I won't fight with you because there's no need, and you don't have the right to fight with me." The surroundings were sent into an uproar. This fellow dared to say that a high and mighty person with an emperor's star did not have the right to fight with him. This was simply too arrogant. Just who was he? He did not put anyone with an emperor's star in his eyes at all. Boom! Mialu furiously exploded out with a powerful aura as she stared at Zhao Fu and said, "You're saying that I don't have the right to fight with you? I want to see just how strong you are. When you lose, don't beg for mercy." Zhao Fu did not mind Mialu's powerful aura at all and said, "I will only fight with the final victor. If you want to fight with me, you have to become the final victor, or else I won't fight with you." Mialu said angrily, "I don't care. I just want to fight with you. Even if you don't agree, you have to agree." Zhao Fu gave a shameless smile as he said, "I'm injured, and I've used up a lot of energy. So what if you win? Will you be satisfied? Won't you be laughed at by others?" Mialu felt that she was going to die from anger and could not help but curse. "You're a despicable person." Zhao Fu loudly laughed as he said, "That's right. If you have the ability, then become the final victor. Otherwise, I won't waste my energy fighting you." Mialu glared at Zhao Fu, clenching his fists, wishing he could rush over and teach Zhao Fu a lesson. Lu Li looked at Zhao Fu and said, "All right, that's enough. Husband, please don't anger our family's young miss. If you want to get her, then treat her better." Many people were shocked to hear this. What was going on? Mialu's personal maid actually called that man husband. Was there really a secret between him and Mialu? Hearing Lu Li's words, Zhao Fu also restrained himself. Lu Li also turned her head and comforted Mialu. "Miss, don't bother with him. If you really want to compete with him, I'll help you talk to him after we leave the mystic realm." Mialu lightly snorted. "There's no need for that. Didn't he say that he would only fight with the final victor? If that's the case, then I'll be the final victor and defeat him so that he has nothing to say." Lu Li smiled. "I believe that our young miss will definitely win." Mialu turned her gaze to Lu Li and said with a trace of displeasure, "Also, you just said that if you want to get me, you should treat me better. Do you also want me to follow such a despicable and fickle person?" Lu Li smiled and said, "Actually, I feel that he's not bad and is qualified to be with young miss. Young miss, you can also consider him." Mialu said angrily, "That's impossible, and there's nothing to consider. Right now, I just want to teach him a lesson." After saying this, Mialu looked at Tianyu and said, "Now that it's the final stage, it's time for us to decide a victor." There were originally 4 people with 9-colored god seals. One was Tianyu, one was Mialu, one was Godker, and one was Zhao Fu. Now that Godker was dead, there were only 3 left. If she could defeat Tianyu, she would be the final victor and would be able to fight with Zhao Fu. Tianyu did not refuse. Now that it was the final stage and the Pantheon throne had appeared, it was time to fight. Immediately, the scene was sent into an uproar, and the oppressive atmosphere was swept away as countless people became incredibly excited. "Ha ha ha, I'm so excited. Those 2 are the people I've been looking forward to the most, and now they're going to fight. That's right. Both of them are possessors of Emperor Stars, and have terrifying power. Now, we can see who is stronger, Zhao Fu said with a smile. I support Tian Yu unconditionally. He's from the godly realm and represents the godly realm, while Mia Lu comes from the godly domain and represents the godly domain. I also support Tian Yu. If Tian Yu loses to Mia Lu, it'll be too embarrassing. It'll show that the godly realm's people are inferior to the godly domain, but the godly realm has always been stronger than the godly domain. We're all from the god race, so there's no need to argue. I support Mia Lu. She's not weak at all, and she's so beautiful. Me too. If Mia Lu really wins, she'll be the god race's #1 beauty, and no one will be able to compare to her. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Countless people's gazes fell on those two people. They were the ones who received the most attention, and their battle would definitely shake the entire godly realm. Right now, the two of them stood in the sky. Everyone else obediently retreated far away because the battle between these two emperor stars was unimaginably terrifying. Zhao Fu left and came to the women's side. Shen Qianhua leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace and kissed Zhao Fu, saying, "Husband, you have to get Mia Lu." Zhao Fu smiled as he hugged her and said, "Why do you like her even more than me? It feels like I'm looking for a woman for you." Shen Qianhua smiled flirtatiously as she said, "Husband, I'm already yours. Is there a need to be so clear? When the time comes, we'll still serve you together." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Yuchan asked in concern, "Husband, who do you think will win? Who do you think is likely to win?" Zhao Fu thought for a moment before saying, "It's hard to say because I don't know their true strength. As such, I need to have a way to determine who will win." "Oh." Yuchan nodded before looking at Mia Lu and Tian Yu. Zhao Fu also looked at the two of them. A battle between two emperor stars. Zhao Fu felt quite excited to see just how terrifying it would be. Boom! An explosion sounded out as Mia Lu took out a black saber and gave off a massive aura, forming a wild gale. His body gave off a black light as a destructive power spread out. Boom! Tian Yu took out a white crystal sword and also gave off a massive aura that blew out like a wild gale. His body gave off a rainbow-colored light as a wave of world energy spread out. As expected from two people with emperor stars, they gave off two massive auras. One was black while the other was rainbow-colored, and the two auras clashed, creating an even more terrifying gale. Chapter 22:19. Swish! Mia Lu's expression was serious, and he did not dare to be careless at all because his opponent also had an emperor star. He gripped his saber and gave off a powerful aura as he rushed forwards, leaving behind a black ray of light. Tian Yu's expression was quite serious as he held his sword and rushed forwards, leaving behind a rainbow ray of light. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the two rays of light gave off massive auras as they collided in the sky, causing a shockwave to ripple out and countless rays of light to shoot everywhere. This was the first time the two of them had clashed, and neither of them could do anything to the other. Following this, both of them retreated, and Mia Lu swung his saber, sending out a massive black saber light that gave off shocking power as it slashed towards Tian Yu. Shing! A sword hum sounded out as Tian Yu swung his sword, sending out a sharp rainbow sword light that slashed out, destroying the massive black saber light and causing it to dissipate into motes of black light. Boom! At that moment, Mia Lu stretched out a hand and vigorously pressed down, causing a massive wave of destructive power to flow out and form black orbs. Each of them was as big as a fist, and there were thousands of them. Swish, swish, swish. After the black orbs appeared, they quickly shot towards Tian Yu, tearing through the air and leaving behind afterimages. Tian Yu stretched out a hand, and a wave of world's energy flowed out, causing a massive rainbow shield of light to appear. There was a world's image within it, and it gave off a massive aura as it blocked in front of him. Bang! 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 Explosions continuously sounded out as the countless black orbs slammed against the shield of light, resulting in massive explosions. Countless rays of black light shot out, and shock waves continuously spread out. Boom! Suddenly, Mialu appeared above Tianyu's rainbow shield of light and gripped his large saber with both hands. He sent a powerful wave of power into it, causing the large saber to give off an intense black light as it slashed down, sending out a terrifying saber light that seemed to be able to split apart a mountain. Bang! A huge explosion sounded out as the huge circular light shield was split open. The terrifying blade light seeped out and slashed towards Tianyu. Tianyu dodged to the side and avoided the attack. Boom! Another explosion sounded out as Tianyu stretched out a hand. A massive wave of world energy flowed out from his hand, and Tianyu grabbed out with his hand. Mialu felt as if he had been grabbed by an invisible hand, as if he had been imprisoned by the world. Mialu struggled hard, but he couldn't break free. Tianyu's outstretched hand once again gripped, and the formless hand also gripped, bringing with it a terrifying power as if it was going to shatter the glass of destruction. Bang! Mialu exploded out with a massive wave of destructive power, and countless black arcs of lightning appeared around him. He broke free from the formless hand, and he raised his saber and slashed towards Tianyu. Tianyu's body gave off a rainbow light, and a wave of power fused into the world. Everything around him was now under Tianyu's control. Facing Mialu's saber, Tianyu coldly swung his sword, sending out a massive wave of world sword energy. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as Mialu, who had raised his saber, was sent flying by a massive wave of sword energy. He flew back dozens of meters before stopping, but he wasn't injured at all. Tianyu's gaze was cold and expressionless as he once again swung his sword. Boom! A massive sword light containing immense sword energy slashed towards Mialu, giving off an oppressive aura of destruction and incredibly fast. Mialu exploded out with shocking power, and his body erupted with a black aura flame. Terrifying destructive power continuously flowed out, and black arcs of lightning appeared around him. He gave off this terrifying power as he continued to rush towards Tianyu. Bang! Mialu slashed out, and a ferocious saber light shattered the sword light, which turned into countless rainbow motes of light and dissipated. Mialu's body continued to rush towards Tianyu. Tianyu did not move at all, and his expression was cold as he continued to swing his sword, sending out a terrifying sword light towards Mialu. Mialu once again slashed out, slashing apart that sword light. Next, Tianyu kept slashing out sword light. The sword light brought with it an astonishing power as it slashed towards crystal destruction at an incredible speed. One after another, crystal destruction was unable to get close to Tianyu. Moreover, Tianyu was left in a somewhat wretched state. Ark! Mialu cried out as a massive wave of destructive power flowed out. A black energy barrier giving off a terrifying aura appeared, and the space around it seemed to twist. It looked quite terrifying. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the black energy barrier gave off destructive power as it spread out incredibly quickly. It instantly spread out far and wide like a hot knife through butter. Destructive power was the most destructive power, and the black energy barrier's destructive power caused the space around it to be unable to withstand it, causing many cracks to appear. Tianyu looked at the black energy barrier, which gave off terrifying power, and his gaze became serious as his body gave off rainbow light. A shocking wave of world energy spread out as a massive rainbow light barrier appeared, giving off a massive might. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the two energy barriers collided. A terrifying shock wave blasted out, forming a wild gale that caused countless trees to sway and rocks to fly everywhere. Boom! Within the black energy barrier, Mialu slashed out with her saber, and 10 or so massive black lightning bolts containing terrifying power flashed past and shot towards the rainbow light barrier, resulting in a massive explosion. The 10 or so massive black lightning bolts pierced through the rainbow light barrier, causing it to start collapsing. Mielu grasped this opportunity and rushed towards Tianyu with massive power. She came in front of Tianyu and sent a massive wave of power into her saber. She vigorously slashed out, and a massive saber light containing destructive power slashed towards Tianyu, bringing with it a massive saber wind. Tianyu's gaze gave off a trace of coldness as he sent some power into his sword. His sword gave off an intense rainbow light, and he vigorously slashed out, causing a massive rainbow sword light containing shocking power to slash out, dyeing the surroundings rainbow-colored. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the two powers collided, and a massive barrier of light spread out. The trees, ground, rocks, flowers, and grass within the barrier were instantly destroyed. A massive gale blew out, sending countless pieces of wood and rocks flying in all directions as if a disaster had descended. Everyone present looked incredibly shocked. This was a battle between Emperor Stars. It was even more terrifying and intense than a battle between geniuses. At the same time, they felt even more nervous and anticipated this battle. Chapter 2220. Countless shockwaves dissipated, and Tianyu and Mielu both retreated dozens of meters. A trace of blood leaked out of their mouths as they looked at each other. Boom! Mielu once again exploded out with a terrifying destructive power as he ferociously rushed at Tianyu. Tianyu sent a massive amount of power into his sword and vigorously slashed out at Mielu. A massive rainbow-colored pillar of sword chi containing terrifying power rushed towards Mielu with unstoppable force. Mielu raised his saber and vigorously slashed out, sending out a massive saber light that contained shocking power. The saber light split the pillar of sword chi in half, causing it to dissipate into motes of light. Shing! A clear sword hum sounded out as Tianyu took the initiative to attack. He appeared in front of Mielu and slashed towards Mielu with shocking sword energy. Mielu felt quite startled and hurriedly used his saber to block. Bang! A massive sound rang out as Mielu's body shot down like a meteor, smashing open a large crater on the ground. Standing in the sky, Tianyu once again stretched out a hand, and a massive wave of world's energy flowed out. A massive rainbow-colored palm appeared in the sky, giving off a massive might. Boom! Tianyu stretched out his hand and pressed down, causing a massive rainbow-colored palm containing immense power to descend from the sky towards Mielu. It was like a massive mountain crashing down. Boom! Just as the massive rainbow-colored palm was about to land on the ground, a massive black beam of light containing shocking power shot into the sky and pierced through the rainbow-colored palm. The black beam of light formed a pillar of light that towered between the heavens and the earth. Terrifying ripples continuously spread out, forming wild gales that blew out in all directions. Countless trees swayed and sand and pebbles were blown into the air. Below the pillar of light, Mielu gave off a black light and went through great changes. Her purple hair had become black and had grown much longer, giving off a devilish light. A vertical pupil had grown on her forehead, within which there were 3 black eyeballs. Her eyes were like 2 black holes and did not contain a trace of emotion, seeming to be able to devour everything. A black veil covered her body, looking gentle and illusory, as if it was not corporeal. Waves of terrifying destructive power continuously flowed out from her body, causing everything in the surroundings to be destroyed. The ground continuously shattered and space was torn apart. Many black arcs of lightning appeared in the surroundings, creating a terrifying scene that could cause people to feel terror. By now, Mielu had used all her power. She was the most powerful lord of Destruction State, and her destructive power could easily destroy worlds. When fighting against the Tree King, she had not used this state, so it was evident that she had not used her full strength. Mielu's black hole-like eyes looked at Tianyu and shot out 2 thin beams of light that contained incredibly sharp power towards Tianyu in the sky. They were incredibly fast and tore through the air, Tianyu's expression fell, and he released a wave of his world's energy, causing a rainbow-colored barrier to appear. Shing! A sound rang out as the rainbow-colored barrier was sliced apart by the two beams of light without any resistance. The barrier split into 4 halves and turned into motes of light before dissipating. Tianyu was not injured, and his body erupted with a rainbow-colored aura flame, blocking Mielu's attack. Boom! In that moment, Mielu's body leapt up from the ground, causing the ground to crack. Mielu's body quickly shot towards Tianyu, and the saber in her hand gave off an intense saber light that seemed to contain destructive power. Boom! An even greater rainbow-colored aura flame erupted around Tianyu's body, sending out wild gales. He sent all of his power into his sword, causing the intense rainbow-colored aura flame to give off a terrifying sword energy. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as Mielu quickly arrived before Tianyu and vigorously slashed towards Tianyu, while Tianyu vigorously slashed out with his sword. The two terrifying powers collided, causing a terrifying shockwave to spread out. Countless rays of light shot out, and a gale blew out. In the next moment, Tianyu was sent flying back 100 meters and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Tianyu looked at Mielu seriously. It seemed that if he did not use his full power, he would not be able to defeat her. As such, Tianyu did not hesitate and exploded out with all of his power. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as Tianyu gave off an intense rainbow-colored light, making him look like a sun that shined in all directions. World energy continuously flowed into Tianyu's body, causing Tianyu's body to go through changes. His hair became rainbow-colored, a rainbow-colored mark appeared on his forehead, and his eyes became rainbow-colored glassy eyeballs. A formless power spread out from his body, covering the entire world and forming a formless might. He was like the ruler of the world, and that terrifying aura made people want to kneel and worship him. This was Tianyu's most powerful world god's power, and it was incredibly terrifying. It was as if he controlled the entire world and was the world's master. This was the power of the godly realm's most powerful expert. Tianyu very rarely fought, and it was very rare for people to see him use this power. After being in the secret realm for so long, this was the first time he had used it, and it was the first time someone had challenged him. In countless people's hearts, he was the insurmountable peak on the path of gods. If one wanted to become the ruler of the gods, they had to first defeat him. Everyone tactfully chose not to challenge him, and they instead chose to challenge those who were weaker than him. Only then would they have the confidence to challenge such a terrifying person. In the sky, Mielu coldly looked at Tianyu, and a massive destructive power flowed out from his body as black orbs once again appeared around him. This time, each of the black orbs was 1 meter wide and gave off shocking destructive power. They densely covered the area around Mielu and gave off an aura that seemed to be able to destroy everything. Swish, swish, swish. The black orbs gave off immense destructive power as they quickly shot towards Tianyu, bringing with them traces of black light. Tianyu stood in the sky, looking like a rainbow-colored sun. Seeing the countless black orbs giving off destructive power, he exploded out with a shocking world's power. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the rainbow-colored orbs gave off an intense rainbow-colored light that turned into rays of light that shot towards the black orbs. There were so many of them that they seemed to cover the entire world. Bang! 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 Explosions sounded out as the black orbs were pierced by the rainbow-colored rays of light and exploded. Boundless light covered everyone's vision, and terrifying shockwaves continuously blasted out, forming a massive storm. Chapter 22-21. When the shockwaves dissipated, the ground was hit by the shockwave and continuously cracked. Many trees were destroyed, rocks were scattered, and grass was everywhere. It was a complete mess. However, the two people in the air were fine and were not affected by the shockwave. Boom! An explosion sounded out as Mielu's expression was cold, as he gave off a powerful aura and rushed towards Tianyu. Tianyu also gave off a powerful aura as he rushed towards Mielu. Mielu arrived in front of Tianyu and vigorously slashed towards Tianyu. Tianyu also vigorously slashed towards Mielu. The two weapons collided, and a shock wave spread out. The two people's strength was about the same, and neither had an absolute advantage. Both of them retreated. Mielu continuously swung his saber, sending out saber lights towards Tianyu. Tianyu also continuously swung his sword, sending out rainbow sword lights. Clang, clang, clang. The two of them continuously attacked, causing loud sounds to ring out. Shock waves continuously spread out, causing the heavens and earth to dim. Shing! A sword hum once again sounded out as Tianyu sent great power into the sword, sending Mie Glaze's body flying back. Swish! Swish! Mielu's body flew back 10 or so meters. His black hole-like eyes once again shot out two black rays of light, bringing with them an extremely sharp power as they shot towards Tianyu. Tianyu understood how powerful these two rays of light were, so he dodged to the side and avoided Mielu's attack. However, Mielu's eyes once again shot out two thin rays of light towards Tianyu. Tianyu dodged to the side and avoided the two rays of light, but at that moment, another two rays of light shot out. This time, Tianyu did not dodge and instead slashed out a massive rainbow sword light, destroying the two rays of light. Suddenly, Mielu appeared behind him, and his saber gave off an intense black light as he slashed towards Tianyu with shocking power. By now, it was too late for Tianyu to turn around, so he hurriedly released a wave of his world's energy, forming a rainbow energy barrier. Boom! A loud sound rang out as the defensive barrier shattered, and Tianyu was sent flying by the saber strike. Tianyu stopped after flying back dozens of meters, a trace of anger on his face. A massive rainbow aura flame burst forth from his body, forming a massive rainbow aura flame bird that gave off a massive aura. Seeing this, Mielu also gave off an intense black light as a massive, evil-looking black phoenix appeared, giving off a massive destructive power. Scree! Tianyu slashed out with his sword, and a massive rainbow aura flame bird flapped its wings, bringing with it a rainbow gale and terrifying world god power as it ferociously rushed towards Mielu. Scree! Mielu also slashed out with his saber, and the black phoenix also rushed towards Tianyu. Its body gave off an intense black light that seemed to cause the surroundings to fall into darkness, and a terrifying destructive aura spread out. Bang! The two attacks collided with shocking power, resulting in an intense explosion. An energy barrier containing destructive power instantly spread out, and the ground, trees, and rocks within the barrier were all blasted apart. A strong gust of wind blew countless sand and stones in all directions. Its momentum was astonishing, as if it was a wind disaster. Bang! Before the terrifying shock waves could dissipate, a massive explosion sounded out as the two people once again clashed in the sky. Bang! Bang! Bang boom! Mielu raised his black saber with both hands, and countless rays of black saber light shot out, forming a massive black saber that was thousands of meters long. It gave off world-splitting power as it slashed towards Tianyu. Tianyu sent all of his power into the sword, causing it to give off boundless light, making it look like a small rainbow sun, and a massive sword energy covered the ground. Bang! In the instant that the huge saber light slashed over, Tianyu forcefully slashed out with the sword in his hand. An unimaginable sword force slashed out, and the two forces collided, resulting in a deafening explosion. A terrifying shockwave containing terrifying power instantly rippled out. The ground was lifted up, countless trees were uprooted, and countless rocks were blown into the sky. Boom! Another massive explosion sounded out as Tianyu stretched out a hand, giving off a powerful world's energy as he grabbed towards Mielu. At that moment, the world became a massive, formless arm that brought with it a massive world's power grab towards Glazed destruction. It was as if there was no way to block it, and it gave off a feeling of despair. Mielu did not move, and the third eye on his forehead stared at Tianyu, giving off a terrifying, cold, and dark aura. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Miet Glaze's vertical eye shot out a massive black beam of light that seemed to be able to destroy everything. It was surrounded by black arcs of lightning and was incredibly fast, as if it was a hot knife through butter. Bang! The massive world's arm was pierced by the black ray of light, which reached Tianyu and gave off a massive explosion. Countless traces of black light shot out, and a terrifying destructive power spread out, causing cracks to appear in space. After the shock waves dissipated, Tianyu released a powerful defensive barrier, blocking that terrifying destructive power. Boom! However, at that moment, Mielu gave off a shocking aura as he appeared above Tianyu. He held a saber and gave off terrifying saber energy as he slashed down towards Tianyu, seeming to be able to split apart a mountain. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the defensive barrier shattered, and Tianyu's body was slashed to the ground, opening up a large crater and causing countless rocks to fly everywhere. Mielu's expression was cold as he gave off a destructive aura and continued to rush at Tianyu. He was incredibly fast, and in just an instant he arrived in front of Tianyu. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as countless rays of light shot out from the crater, and a head giving off a massive aura appeared in the air above the crater. The head was 1 meter long and belonged to a man. Its appearance was quite hazy, and it was impossible to see what it looked like. However, its eyes were rainbow-colored, and they were cold and emotionless. Extinguish. The head opened its mouth and gave off a musical note, causing an incredibly terrifying power to flow out. It was as if the entire world in front of it was collapsing. Space, ground, rocks, and trees all shattered. It was incredibly terrifying. Zhao Fu's eyes lit up. Mielu was greatly startled and hurriedly released a defensive barrier and blocked with his saber, but he was still sent flying by that massive power. Chapter 22:22. After flying back, Mielu rolled a few times on the ground before stopping. He coughed up a mouthful of blood and looked at the head with an unsightly expression. This head seemed to be the manifestation of the world's laws, and it seemed to control the heavens and earth. Its power was unimaginably terrifying. The head's incredibly cold gaze once again looked at Mielu, and it uttered a single word, wind. In that instant, a massive, formless energy spread out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In that moment, countless wild gusts of wind appeared, forming wind blades that gave off incredibly sharp power. There were many of them, and they filled the sky. Swish, swish, swish. The instant the countless wind blades formed, they gave off terrifying power as they shot towards Mielu. They were incredibly fast, seeming to be able to slice apart everything, and the sounds they gave off were incredibly terrifying. Boom! Mielu immediately exploded out with shocking power as a powerful black energy barrier giving off a shocking aura appeared. It gave off terrifying destructive power as it instantly spread out, destroying everything. Bang! The two terrifying forces collided in that instant, causing a huge explosion to ring out. A destructive force instantly spread out, causing the ground to shatter and countless rocks to shoot out. After the shock waves settled, a crater that was thousands of meters wide appeared in the ground, giving off a terrifying aura. Mielu and Tianyu were not affected by the shock waves. The head continued to coldly look at Mielu as it uttered one word at a time, Earth. Boom! Boom! Explosions continuously sounded out as pillars of earth rushed out of the ground with shocking power and ferociously smashed towards Mielu. Mielu quickly flew into the sky, dodging the countless pillars of earth. The head raised its head and looked at the sky with its cold, rainbow-colored eyes as it uttered one word at a time, Sky. Boom! Boom! Explosions once again sounded out as three massive white streams of air appeared in the sky, bringing with them terrifying power as they rushed towards Mielu. Mielu sent a massive amount of power into his saber, causing it to give off a terrifying saber light. He vigorously slashed out, causing a massive saber light to slash out with enough power to slash apart everything. Bang! 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 Three massive sounds rang out as three white streams of air were slashed apart by the saber strike, turning into a wild gale that blew out. The eye between Mielu's eyebrows stared at the head, emitting an intense black light that seemed to distort the surrounding space. Boom! A massive black beam of light shot out from the eye, bringing with it an extremely terrifying power as it shot towards the head with unstoppable force. The head's expression was ice cold, without a trace of fear, and it uttered one syllable at a time, shield. Heaven and earth power gathered in the surroundings, forming a massive rainbow-colored shield. There were countless runes on it, and it gave off a shocking aura. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the shield blocked the destructive beam of light, and a powerful shockwave spread out, forming a powerful gale. Shing! The sound of a huge saber rang out. Mie Glaze had appeared in front of a huge shield. He raised his black saber with both hands and sent out countless black saber lights. Then he slashed out with all his might. Boom! A saber energy that seemed to be able to destroy everything flooded out and slammed into the shield, directly shattering it. The terrifying saber energy inundated the head, and the saber energy continuously flowed forwards, causing the ground to collapse. After everything settled, a ravine that was thousands of meters long and hundreds of meters wide had appeared on the ground. Many trees had been destroyed, and rocks were everywhere. At the end of the ravine, Tianyu half squatted on the ground with his sword stabbed into the ground. There was blood at the corner of his lips as he slowly raised his head and coldly looked at Mielu. Boom! An enormous rainbow-colored aura flame flowed out of his body, and a massive world's power continuously spread out. Tianyu's body started to become illusory, as if he had truly fused with the world. The ground continuously collapsed, and space twisted. Finally, a hazy, illusory image holding a rainbow-colored sword with long, rainbow-colored hair appeared, causing the space around it to twist. This illusory image seemed illusory, and waves of terrifying world's power spread out, controlling the world within it. It was as if it controlled the heavens. Seeing this scene, everyone felt incredibly shocked. Before, it was said that in order to better control the world's power, Tianyu had given up many emotions and made many sacrifices. Now he had really done it. Shing! At that moment, Tianyu's gaze was cold as he looked at Mielu. He slashed out with his sword, and a sword light instantly slashed out. Everything in front of him was instantly turned into nothingness. Mielu's expression was serious as he released a three-layer defensive barrier and held his saber in front of him, giving off a firm aura. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the sword light slammed into the defensive barrier. The defensive barrier instantly shattered into countless shards, and Mielu's body was forced back 10 or so meters. Swish! Tianyu's body instantly arrived in front of Mielu, and a long crack appeared in the space and ground behind him. After arriving in front of Mielu, Tianyu slashed towards Mielu, bringing with it an extremely terrifying sword energy. Mielu sent massive amounts of power into his saber and vigorously slashed out, and a black saber light containing shocking power slashed towards Tianyu. Boom! There was a loud roar as the two weapons collided. A shock wave spread out, and the ground instantly collapsed. The scene of the collision lasted for a while, and the next moment, Mielu's body was sent flying. Tianyu once again slashed out with his sword, causing a massive power to spread out. Countless rainbow-colored birds appeared, all of them giving off immense power and flying incredibly quickly towards Mielu. Bang! 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 When the rainbow-colored birds arrived in front of Mielu, they exploded, causing countless rays of light to shoot out, blocking everyone's vision. A terrifying power spread out, causing the ground to instantly crumble, and a powerful gale continuously blew out. Countless trees swayed and sand and pebbles were blown into the air. The terrifying aura caused everyone present to feel a bone-chilling coldness. Roar! A massive roar suddenly sounded out as countless rays of black light exploded out. A destructive power continuously flooded out like a heaven-toppling flood, easily inundating the entire world. The rainbow-colored light from before instantly disappeared. The heavens and earth dimmed, and the world violently trembled as a massive demon image appeared before everyone's eyes. The demon image was 10,000 meters tall and had 3 heads. It looked quite ferocious, and the 2 heads on the side had 2 bone horns while the one in the middle had 3 bone horns. There was also a vertical eye on its forehead that also had 3 black pupils that gave off a destructive aura. Chapter 22-23. Its body was also very strong. It had strong muscles and 6 arms. One of its arms was holding a sword, one was holding a knife, one was holding a spear, one was holding an axe, one was holding a ring, and one was holding a hammer. Its body gave off an aura that seemed to be able to destroy the world. The world could not withstand this aura, so it continuously trembled as if it was terrified. The terrifying aura of destruction weighed down on everyone's bodies, making them feel as if they were going to suffocate. They felt pain and terror. Seeing this scene, the countless experts were incredibly shocked. This was the Lord of Destruction, a terrifying existence that had appeared when the world had ended. It controlled the source of destruction and could easily destroy everything. Most of them had only heard of it and had never seen it for themselves. This was the first time they had seen it, and it was indeed quite terrifying. Now, Mialu had actually transformed into the Lord of Destruction. This was something that could only be achieved by gaining the Lord of Destruction's favor. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out from the serpent god as the destruction demon image vigorously swung its sword. A massive wave of sword chi slashed towards Tianyu, bringing with it a massive sword chi storm. All of the trees, rocks, and flowers in its path were destroyed, and sword gashes appeared on the ground. Tianyu's expression was serious as he sent a massive wave of power into his sword. He vigorously slashed out, and a massive rainbow-colored crescent flew out. Heaven and earth power continuously flowed in from the surroundings, giving off an unimaginable power as it slashed forwards. Bang! A shocking explosion sounded out as the 2 attacks collided. Countless traces of sword chi and sword light howled out like wild gales, instantly destroying everything in the surroundings. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as the destruction demon image raised its large hammer and vigorously smashed towards Tianyu. It gave off a power that seemed to be able to crush everything, causing space to shatter and chaotic shockwaves to spread out. In that instant, Tianyu's body disappeared. When the hammer struck the ground, a terrifying force instantly spread out. A loud sound rang out as a 1,000-meter-wide crater appeared in the ground. At that moment, Tianyu appeared in the sky above the destruction demon image. The sword in his hand gave off intense rainbow-colored sword light, forming a 1,000-meter-long rainbow-colored sword that gave off massive amounts of heaven and earth power as it slashed towards the destruction demon image. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive gale spread out. The destruction demon image used its saber and spear to block in front of it, blocking that terrifying sword strike. Boom! At that moment, the demon image swung its axe with its other hand, bringing with it a terrifying power as it slashed towards Tianyu, bringing with it a massive gale. Tianyu could only retreat and disappear, causing the destruction demon image's attack to miss. In the next moment, Tianyu appeared on the other side of the destruction demon image, and his sword gave off shocking power as it slashed towards the destruction demon image. However, it was easily blocked by the destruction demon image. Its power was simply too monstrous. In the end, Tianyu appeared in the distance and raised his sword. A massive wave of world energy flowed out as a massive rainbow-colored dragon, giving off a massive aura, appeared, giving off terrifying world energy. Boom! Tianyu slashed out, and a massive rainbow-colored dragon gave off terrifying power as it rushed towards the destruction demon image. The destruction demon image sent a massive wave of destructive power into its 6 weapons, causing them to give off black light as a shocking wave of destructive power flowed out. Boom! The instant that the rainbow-colored dragon rushed over, the destruction demon image slashed its 6 weapons towards the rainbow-colored dragon, sending out 6 massive black lights that seemed to be able to destroy everything. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the massive rainbow-colored dragon was slashed apart, resulting in a massive explosion. The destruction demon image was forced back 4 or 5 steps. At that moment, Tianyu gave off a powerful aura as he rushed towards the destruction demon image. The terrifying eye on the destruction demon image's forehead stared at Tianyu as it gave off a terrifying power. Boom! 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 Explosions continuously sounded out as the destruction demon image's third eye shot out hundreds or thousands of black rays of light, giving off immense destructive power as they shot towards Tianyu. They were incredibly fast and flashed past him in an instant. Tianyu's expression fell, and he gave off boundless rainbow-colored light, forming a massive rainbow-colored energy barrier that gave off shocking power. Bang! 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 In that moment, the countless rays of light hit the barrier, causing it to crash to the ground and heavily smash into the ground, opening up a large crater. Countless rocks flew everywhere as the massive barrier shattered. Boom! However, at that moment, a massive stone pillar rushed up from the ground, giving off immense power as it sent the destruction demon image flying back. Dust spread out from the crater as Tianyu half squatted on the ground and pressed a hand against the ground, causing a talisman magic formation to appear. Roar! The destruction demon image furiously roared and wanted to get up from the ground to kill Tianyu. Tianyu naturally could not let go of this opportunity. A massive wave of world energy flowed into the talisman magic formation, causing it to give off a massive wave of world energy. Countless amounts of soil surged towards the golem on the ground like a tidal wave. First, it wrapped around its limbs, making it unable to move. Then, countless amounts of soil surged towards its body, covering the golem's body. The soil continuously hardened and the destruction demon image seemed to be sealed within the soil, unable to move at all. The terrifying aura that the destruction demon image gave off also quickly dissipated. Everyone felt quite surprised as they watched this scene. Could it be that Tianyu had defeated Mialu just like that? Boom! Suddenly, a massive explosion sounded out as the soil was blasted apart, and an enormous black hole appeared, giving off a massive suction force that sucked the soil into the black hole. The black hole disappeared, and the destruction demon image's massive body once again climbed up from the ground. The eye on its forehead gave off boundless black light as a formless destructive power flowed out. An enormous black hole suddenly appeared in front of Tianyu and gave off a massive suction force, wanting to suck Tianyu in. Tianyu's expression fell, and he immediately sent a large amount of power into his sword and vigorously slashed out, sending out a rainbow sword arc that slashed apart the black hole. However, at that moment, the destruction demon image's 6 arms raised its 6 weapons and sent power into them before vigorously slashing down. Boom! 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 6 massive rays of black light slashed out, bringing with them destructive power and a massive aura as they slashed forwards like bolts of lightning. It was as if there was no way to stop them, and a massive explosion sounded out. Chapter 22-24. Bang! Tianyu was sent flying by that attack, and 6 massive 1,000-meter-long gashes appeared on the ground. The ground was a complete mess, and there were broken trees and shattered rocks everywhere. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as a few gashes appeared on Tianyu's chest. He coldly looked at the demon image, and waves of rainbow aura flames flowed out, spreading out like a fountain. Tianyu raised his sword and vigorously slashed out. Boom! An enormous rainbow aura flame river gave off massive amounts of world energy as it ferociously rushed forwards incredibly quickly. It was as if there was no way to stop it, and it gave off a massive sense of suppression. The demon image immediately gave off massive power, blocking the 6 weapons in front of it and giving off intense light. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the demon image was sent flying by the Rainbow River and crashed hundreds of meters away. It heavily smashed into the ground, opening up a large crater and causing countless rocks to fly everywhere. Roar! The demon image got up from the ground and furiously gave a heaven-shaking roar. A corporeal sound wave spread out and swept out. Boom! The golem raised the 6 weapons around it, and the 6 weapons continuously gave off waves of destructive power. An enormous black orb giving off terrifying power appeared, and it was tens of thousands of meters wide. Black arcs of lightning continuously flashed around it, giving off a shocking aura. The surrounding space was unable to withstand it and continuously tore apart. Tianyu's expression became serious, and he understood just how terrifying this attack was. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Tianyu exploded out with shocking power, giving off boundless rainbow-colored light. He was like an enormous rainbow-colored sun that was tens of thousands of meters wide, and the rainbow-colored light covered the ground and gave off a shocking power. Boom! Tianyu brought the enormous rainbow sun and rushed towards the demon image. The rainbow light dyed the world rainbow-colored, and it was as if a world had smashed towards the demon image, seeming to be able to destroy all things. Boom! The demon image's 6 arms swung out, and the enormous black orb shot out. The black orb gave off boundless black light, dyeing the world black, as if it was going to destroy the world. Bang! A shocking explosion sounded out as the 2 spheres collided. A world-destroying shockwave spread out, and the ground, mountains, trees, and creeks in the surroundings were instantly turned into nothingness. A terrifying shockwave blew out, sending countless rocks and stones flying. Countless trees were uprooted, creating a deafening sound as if a natural disaster had descended. Zhao Fu and the others, who were far away, were also affected by the shockwave. The shockwave carried countless pieces of stone and wood as it shot towards them. Zhao Fu immediately released a defensive barrier to block all the stone and wood. After everything calmed down, a crater that was hundreds of thousands of meters wide appeared in the ground, giving off a destructive power. Everyone looked incredibly shocked, as expected from a battle between 2 people with Emperor stars. It was simply too terrifying, just who had won. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the pit. In the crater, Tianyu's body returned to its physical form. There were a few wounds on his body that were bleeding, and he looked a little weak. On the other side, Mialu lay on the ground and returned to his original form. There were also a few wounds on his body, and his face was quite pale. Seeing this, everyone saw that Tianyu was standing while Mialu was lying on the ground. It seemed that Tianyu had won. Boom! Just as this thought appeared in everyone's mind, Mialu stood up from the ground and gave off a massive wave of power as a black light containing terrifying power shot into the sky. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as if the heavens and earth were collapsing, and an extremely terrifying shockwave blasted out with destructive power. The sky was torn open, creating a terrifying scene. Countless rays of intense, white light shot out from the cracks, and the entire sky collapsed into nothingness, turning everything into a jet-black darkness. At that moment, a massive white star giving off a boundless aura slowly descended from the sky. The heavens and earth seemed to sink as a massive pressure descended. The massive white star gave off a divine might and gave off a dignified, solemn, pious, and worshipful aura. It was as if it was the Lord of all gods, and its power could cause the heavens and earth to collapse and space to twist. This was the god race's supreme emperor star, the highest god star. The highest god star's appearance caused Mielu's aura to become even more powerful, making him seem like a high and mighty godly lord. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out. Tianyu did not hesitate, and his body gave off a massive wave of world energy as a rainbow-colored ray of light containing immense power shot into the sky. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the sky, once again, seemed to collapse. Countless cracks spread out as countless rays of white light shot out, and an enormous white star giving off boundless divine might appeared. The god race's emperor star gave off a brilliant white light and boundless emperor star power. It stood on either side of the sky, and its aura shook the heavens and earth. Mielu's body was cold as he raised a hand, and a terrifying destructive power entered the Emperor's star. The Emperor's star gave off boundless black light, looking like an enormous black sun, and Mielu vigorously slammed down with his hand. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the enormous black sun gave off destructive power as it smashed towards Tianyu. The entire heavens and earth seemed to collapse as countless shockwaves wreaked havoc. Tianyu did not feel any fear and raised a hand, sending a massive wave of world energy into the Emperor's star in the sky. The Emperor's star gave off a rainbow-colored light, making it look like a rainbow-colored sun and giving off a massive wave of world energy. Zhao Fu's hand also slammed down. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the rainbow-colored sun gave off terrifying world energy and a world-shaking aura as it smashed forwards, seeming to cause the world to collapse. Bang! An explosion sounded out as if the heavens and earth were being torn apart. The two emperor stars collided, and it was as if two worlds had collided, causing boundless light to cover the world. In that moment, not only did the ground, trees, mountains, and rocks crumble, but space and time also crumbled and turned into nothingness. In the distance, everyone could only see a vast expanse of white and could not see anything. They felt as if they had gone deaf and could not speak, and their souls had been dealt a massive blow, making them feel incredibly small. The heavens and earth shook violently, and this lasted for quite a while. Waves of annihilating aura surged out like a tide. Chapter 22-25. After the shock waves dissipated, there was a 1 million-meter wide crater in the ground. Countless trees had been destroyed around the crater, and rocks were scattered everywhere. The crater gave off a massive aura of annihilation, and it was incredibly terrifying. Even those far away could sense it, causing people's hairs to stand on end. There were two people lying on the ground. One was Tianyu, and the other was Mielu. Everyone stared at this scene with wide eyes. Now that both people had fallen to the ground, no one knew who had won. It was possible that it had been a draw, and everyone started to feel nervous. Not too long after, Tianyu stood up from the ground, and Mielu also wanted to stand up, but she did not have the strength to do so. It was evident that Tianyu had won, and the entire crowd burst into an uproar. Ha ha! I knew Tianyu would win. He's definitely going to be the ruler of the gods this time, right? Who could be a match for him now? Originally, the two god race emperor stars had the highest chance of becoming the ruler of the gods. Now that Tianyu has defeated the other emperor star, the ruler of the gods will definitely be his. I can guarantee that. That's right. He's the #1 expert of the godly world. With such terrifying power, he even defeated the #1 expert of the godly domain. He's brought glory to the godly world, and I like him even more. I like Tianyu too. I like him a lot. It would be even better if I could be his wife. I would serve him wholeheartedly. It's the first time I've seen two people with emperor stars fight, and it was incredibly destructive. Both of them are experts worthy of our respect. Both of them are incredibly powerful. Even though Mielu lost, that doesn't mean she's weak. Tianyu didn't win easily either, and I feel that he's just a bit stronger than Mielu. You're right, there's also the attribute. Tianyu belongs to the world attribute. He can absorb the power of heaven and earth at any time, and the injuries he receives will heal very quickly. Mielu belongs to the destruction attribute. Although he has a strong destructive power, his recovery ability is not as strong as Tianyu. There's not much to say about this battle. Both of them gave it their all, and the final two Emperor stars collided. They deserve our cheers. At this moment, many experts of the divine world couldn't help but praise Tianyu. Even Wu Guang revealed a smile, because Tianyu represented the divine world. If he won, then the divine world would win. Although the celestial race lived in both the divine world and the divine domain, there would often be some friction between the two sides. The people of the divine world thought that the people of the divine domain were inferior to them, and the people of the divine domain had always wanted to surpass the divine world. Currently, they just didn't have any large-scale battles. Now that they were being suppressed by the divine realm, the expressions of some of the forces from the divine realm that had come here were somewhat unsightly. They couldn't blame Mielu, because Mielu had given it his all, and his strength had shocked them. It could only be said that Tianyu's strength was slightly stronger than Mielu's. At this time, Tianyu walked towards Mielu. He had already recovered some of his strength. Mielu's complexion was also somewhat ugly. She was originally very confident, but in the end, she still lost to Tianyu. It was a huge blow to her confidence. She didn't have any complaints. She had tried her best, but she still lost to him. Tianyu came in front of Mielu and said coldly, "I've won, but you're not weak either." Mielu looked at Tianyu and said, "You've won, but I'll definitely win back in the future." Tianyu coldly replied, "I'm also looking forward to the battles in the future. I hope that you'll become stronger and don't disappoint me." These words made Mielu feel a bit uncomfortable, because she felt that Tianyu thought that she wasn't as strong as him and that she needed to work hard to catch up to him. However, because she had indeed lost to Tianyu, she couldn't say anything about it. Now, a fighting spirit was ignited in her heart, and she hoped that in the future, she would become even stronger and defeat Tianyu. She definitely couldn't lose to Tianyu a second time. At this moment, Mielu's maid, Lu Li, worriedly flew to Mielu's side and helped the weak Mielu up. Tianyu didn't say anything, and he turned into a ray of light and disappeared. Now, he also needed to recover his strength. After helping Mielu up, Lu Li quickly took out a few bottles of good medicinal pills and fed them to Mielu as she asked caringly, "How do you feel now, miss?" Mielu lay in Lu Li's arms and smiled as she said, "I'm fine. It's just that this time suddenly." Before Mielu could finish speaking, she coughed up a large mouthful of blood, and her face became pale, and her aura became very weak. Lu Li was shocked. "Miss, what's wrong?" Mielu didn't reply to Lu Li and directly fainted. Lu Li didn't know what had happened, but she immediately fed Mielu healing medicinal pills and sent her power into Mielu's body to help Mielu recover. However, it wasn't very effective, and she found that ordinary powers and medicines were unable to heal Mielu's injuries. Mielu's injuries weren't from battle, but from a powerful backlash. Just then, she had used the God Race's Emperor Star to attack Tianyu, and even though the attack was incredibly powerful, she had still been greatly affected. The Emperor Star could be said to be her life and everything, and any damage it suffered would be reflected on her body. Just then, when the two stars had collided, the Emperor Star had been slightly damaged, and adding on the fact that Mielu had lost at a critical moment, her body had suffered a powerful backlash of fate. This was a backlash of fate, and ordinary powers and medicinal pills were unable to heal it. In order to heal these injuries, one needed the help of someone with powerful fate, or else one could only rely on one's own body to slowly recover, which was incredibly slow. Lu Li immediately thought of a person, which was Zhao Fu. After all, Zhao Fu had a divine bloodline and had defeated the terrifying god Kerr. His identity was incredibly mysterious, and he definitely had massive amounts of fate. At that moment, Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and brought the women to the crater. Because Zhao Fu saw that Mielu had lost all of her power, he decided that it would be best to subdue her. As such, he had despicably brought people here. Of course, Zhao Fu wasn't completely confident. After all, the other party had an Emperor's Star. Even though the Moon God Sprout also had an Emperor's Star, it was because Zhao Fu had subdued her first before awakening the God Race's Emperor's Star. Seeing Zhao Fu arrive, Lu Li gave a delighted smile and said, "Husband, hurry and save my young mistress." Zhao Fu smiled as he came before her. He could tell at a glance that Lu Li had suffered a backlash from the Emperor's Star's fate. This was a backlash from the Emperor's Star's fate, and it was incredibly terrifying. Ordinary people with massive amounts of fate would not dare to touch it, as they might also suffer a backlash. Chapter 22-26. However, Zhao Fu was not afraid of this sort of backlash. This sort of backlash would not be very effective against Zhao Fu, as Zhao Fu had 6 supreme Emperor Stars. How could a single Emperor Star affect Zhao Fu? As such, this was not a problem for Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded, saying, "It's nothing much. Don't worry, leave it to me." Hearing how relaxed Zhao Fu was, Lu Li felt at ease and trusted that Zhao Fu would be able to deal with this. Zhao Fu squatted down and examined Mielu's body to understand her injuries. He then picked up Mielu's body and smiled as he said, "It's not convenient to stay here. Let's leave." Lu Li lightly nodded and left with Zhao Fu and the others. This caused countless people to have a bad feeling, and they frowned, feeling quite worried. Where's that beast going with Mielu? Is he going to do something to her? That's the possessor of the God Race's Emperor Star and the most powerful person in the godly domain. Is he tired of living, or did he eat leopard's gall? Fudge, now that you say that, I'm starting to worry. That's how that fellow subdued Shun Qianhua and Yue Chan. They're 2 peerless geniuses, and yet they were willing to serve a man. Back then, my heart ached so much and I wanted to take his place. That's right. Thinking about those 2 peerless beauties moaning under another man, I'm so jealous. If he subdued even the possessor of the Emperor's Star, everyone would hate him to death. I feel that it's quite possible that this fellow is a shameless and despicable person. Others didn't take advantage of him and attacked him when he didn't have any power, but he wanted to take advantage of Mielu when she didn't have any power. I just hope that that person won't be so bold and think about the consequences. That's the possessor of the God Race's Emperor Star and the most powerful person in the godly domain. Yes, if he dares to do such a thing, everyone in the deity realm will madly hunt him down. This won't just anger a single power, it will anger the entire deity realm. Moreover, the people of our deity realm might also be involved. He seemed to have mentioned before that he was very interested in Mielu. I thought that Mielu was doomed this time. He was going to be defiled by that beast. Thinking about it, I was so angry that I wanted to chop him into pieces. Among the countless experts on the viewing platforms, the ones who were the most worried were naturally Mielu's faction. They did not want to lose the owner of the Emperor Star before obtaining the King of Gods. Moreover, if they really violated Mielu, it would be a great humiliation to them. Now that they were outside the mystic realm, they had no power to stop him. Otherwise, they would have rushed in and blasted Zhao Fu to smithereens. No one wanted such a beauty to be defiled by that beast, and they all hoped that this would not happen. Of course, any righteous, kind, and caring person would not want such a thing to happen. Those who wanted to see Mielu violated and had some sort of reaction were scum. What Zhao Fu had been doing was actually quite normal. It was just that everyone's thoughts were too lewd, and they liked to let their imaginations run wild. This made Zhao Fu feel quite innocent. In actuality, he was a righteous and kind person, and he had sacrificed himself to satisfy those women. Hugging Mielu, Zhao Fu and the others came to a grassy area. Zhao Fu placed Mielu on the ground and waved his hand, causing a black energy barrier to spread out, blocking the image in the mirror and preventing anyone from disturbing him. Because Mielu's life was not in danger yet, Zhao Fu was not in a hurry to heal Miao Lu's injuries. To Zhao Fu, this was not an easy thing to do. Moreover, Zhao Fu wanted to take this opportunity to subdue Miao Lu. If her injuries were healed, it would be much more difficult. Zhao Fu half squatted on the ground and pressed his hand against Miao Lu's abdomen, and a wave of 6 desires demonic qi flowed into Miao Lu's body. Boom! An explosion sounded out in Zhao Fu's mind as Zhao Fu's hand was blasted away by a formless energy, and the 6 desires demonic qi that he had sent into his hand dissipated. Zhao Fu felt quite startled and did not understand what had happened. He stretched out his hand and once again pressed against Miao Lu's abdomen. Just as he was about to send in the 6 desires demonic qi, his hand was once again pushed away by a formless energy. What's going on? Zhao Fu could not understand how the 6 desires demonic qi, which was the bane of women, could not be used against countless women. Zhao Fu once again stretched out his hand and pressed against Miao Lu's abdomen, but his hand was once again pushed away by a formless energy. Zhao Fu stopped and seemed to have discovered the reason. He looked up into the sky and saw that the god race's Emperor Star was helping Miao Lu. Let alone Zhao Fu sending in the 6 desires demonic qi. Even if he tried to harm Miao Lu, the god race's Emperor Star would give off a wave of energy to protect Miao Lu. The god race's Emperor Star could sense that the 6 desires demonic qi was harmful to Miao Lu, so it pushed away Zhao Fu's hand, and the 6 desires demonic qi was dispelled by the Emperor Star's power. This was the first time Zhao Fu had encountered something like this, and he felt that it was incredibly difficult to deal with the owner of the Emperor's Star. However, Zhao Fu had a way to deal with this. If he wanted to send the 6 desires demonic qi into Miao Lu's body, he had to first suppress Miao Lu's god race's Emperor Star. However, Miao Lu's body was currently suffering a fate backlash, and doing this would put Miao Lu's life in danger. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to first heal Miao Lu's injuries before suppressing her god race's Emperor Star and seeing if he could subdue Miao Lu. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive black fate exploded out from Zhao Fu's body. 9 massive black dragon images appeared, giving off a massive dragon's might. The women in the surroundings hurriedly retreated so as not to disturb Zhao Fu. After the 9 black dragons appeared, they surrounded Zhao Fu and Miao Lu's bodies and looked down at Miao Lu. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand, which gave off a black light, and pressed it against Miao Lu's chest. Roar! 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 The 9 black dragons gave massive roars and gave off massive auras as they flooded into Miao Lu's body, and a massive wave of fate power spread out within her body. 9 smaller black dragons appeared within Miao Lu's body and swirled about within her body, giving off powerful waves of fate power to heal Miao Lu's injuries. With the help of this wave of fate power, Miao Lu's injuries recovered quite quickly. However, a massive backlash came from Miao Lu's body and flowed toward Zhao Fu. Boom! By now, Zhao Fu had no choice but to use the Emperor Star's power. His palm gave off 6 different lights, each representing a different Emperor Star's power. The 6 Emperor Star's power combined was incredibly terrifying, and they successfully resisted the backlash. Zhao Fu used the Emperor Star's power to suppress Miao Lu's Emperor Star. Chapter 22-27. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as Zhao Fu gathered even more Emperor Star power. His palm gave off an intense 6-colored light, and the powerful Emperor Star power entered Miao Lu's body. The Emperor Star power within Miao Lu's body tried to resist this power, and it gave off an intense white light, resisting the 6-colored light. Zhao Fu's expression became slightly cold as he once again gathered even more Emperor Star power and pressed down on Miao Lu's chest, causing an even more intense 6-colored light to enter Miao Lu's body. The Emperor Star power within her body was gradually suppressed, and her body gave off the 6-colored light as a shocking wave of Emperor Star power flowed out of her body. Zhao Fu gave a trace of smile. Now that he had suppressed her Emperor Star power, it was time to send in the 6 desires demonic qi. Following this, Zhao Fu sent in the six desires demonic qi. However, things were not as simple as Zhao Fu had thought. The six desires demonic qi quickly dissipated, and only a small portion remained. It seemed that even though Miao Lu's Emperor Star power had been suppressed, she was still able to resist. After all, her body contained Emperor Star power, and even though it had been suppressed, the Emperor Star power still existed. Zhao Fu thought of another way to deal with this. The reason why the Emperor Star power repelled the six desires demonic qi was because it was harmful to Miao Lu. If Zhao Fu made some changes and made the six desires demonic qi harmless, he would most likely be able to succeed. Zhao Fu's method was to hide the six desires demonic qi within his fate power and heal Miao Lu's injuries while using the six desires demonic qi to corrode her body. Zhao Fu immediately started to act, and his body continuously sent fate and six desires demonic qi into her body. This method was quite effective. Miao Lu's injuries quickly recovered, and at the same time, the six desires demonic qi continuously corroded her body. In the end, Miao Lu's injuries quickly recovered, and Zhao Fu planted a six desires demonic seed in her body. This was the first time that it had been so difficult for him to subdue a woman. Seeing that Miao Lu's face had become rosy and did not seem as weak as before, Lu Li happily smiled and ran up to Zhao Fu, saying, "Thank you, husband." Zhao Fu lightly smiled and nodded. By now, Miao Lu had woken up, and she had never thought that she would see the person she did not want to see the first. She immediately asked coldly, "Why are you here?" Lu Li explained with a smile, "Miss, you have just received a strong backfire of luck. It was my husband who saved you." Miao Lu's expression was cold, and he did not look very grateful as he said, "I didn't want you to save me, but since you've saved me, I owe you a favor. I can help you with anything you want." Miao Lu gave an evil smile as she looked at Miao Lu and said, "Of course not. I don't have any feelings for you. In fact, I hate despicable people like you." Miao Lu replied angrily, "Of course not. I don't have any feelings for you. In fact, I hate despicable people like you." Zhao Fu did not become angry and instead loudly laughed. Miao Lu felt quite startled and did not understand why Zhao Fu was laughing. She had a bad feeling and immediately examined her body, and she found that there was a strange power within her body. Immediately, Miao Lu became quite angry and glared at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes as she said angrily, "You're indeed a despicable person. What did you do to me while I was injured?" Lu Li looked at Zhao Fu and asked, "Husband, what's wrong? What did you do to Miao Lu?" Zhao Fu smiled as he hugged Miao Lu and said, "It's nothing. From now on, Miao Lu is mine, and you can stay by my side." Lu Li was quite surprised and asked, "Really?" Miao Lu became even angrier as she said, "Who's yours? Let go of me. I'm going to kill you." Zhao Fu lowered his head and kissed Miao Lu, starting to violate Miao Lu. Miao Lu struggled with all her might, but her body had long since been corroded by the six desires demonic qi, so she could not resist at all. Moreover, she quickly and intensely responded to Zhao Fu. This caused Lu Li, who had wanted to stop Zhao Fu, to feel quite startled. The Miao Lu, who had hated Zhao Fu so much just then, was now acting so affectionately with Zhao Fu, causing her face to become slightly red. After a while, Zhao Fu let go of Miao Lu, and Miao Lu lay in Zhao Fu's embrace with a red face as she panted, her eyes filled with lust. Now, she understood why Shan Qianhua and Yu Chan had submitted to this bastard. With this kind of power, she could not resist Zhao Fu, and she could not help but want to obtain Zhao Fu's favor and do it with Zhao Fu. Miao Lu also wanted to resist and used all of her power to resist, but she found that her Emperor Star was being suppressed by another Emperor Star's power. She was the God race's supreme Emperor Star. How could it be suppressed by another Emperor Star's power? This made Miao Lu feel quite shocked. Only now did she understand how terrifying Zhao Fu was. Apart from her Emperor Star, her body could not resist at all under that power's influence. As she acted affectionately with Zhao Fu, that feeling seemed to corrode her soul, making her want to like this fellow as well. At that moment, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and pulled Lu Li into his embrace, and he started to do it with her as well. The two of them were toyed with by Zhao Fu in all sorts of ways, and the other women could not help but blush as they took off their clothes and joined in. This was especially so for Shun Qianhua, who had been waiting for this moment for a long time. After taking off her clothes, she started to act affectionately with Mielu. She wanted to taste what it was like to have an emperor's star. Mielu did not understand this, so she was quite passive. She was continuously ravaged by Zhao Fu and Shun Qianhua, and she gave off indescribable sounds. On the other side, Hao Dao also came to the battlefield. Looking at the massive destruction, he felt quite shocked. This power could not be underestimated, and Hao Dao felt a trace of pressure. Seeing this scene, Lan Lu was naturally quite shocked, but she turned to look at Hao Dao and gave a trace of smile as she said, "Master, I believe you can defeat those two. What should we do next?" Hao Dao also gave a trace of a smile as he said, "Now that the two Emperor Stars have determined a victor, it's time to act. Let's go find that Tianyu. After he recovers, we'll start a fight with him." Lan Lu felt quite confused as she said, "Master, after Tianyu defeated Mielu, he has taken first place, while that person is second. Why not defeat him first before challenging the person in first place?" Hao Dao's expression became quite serious as he said, "That person is far more powerful than I imagined, and I feel quite pressured. An expert like that should be left for last. I look forward to that time." Lan Lu felt quite startled. Just how terrifying was that person for even her master to say such things? Right now, Zhao Fu was doing indescribable things with the women. It was a pity that Zhao Fu could only satisfy himself and could not violate them, making him quite pitiful. Chapter 22-28. Zhao Fu continued to play with the women's bodies. It could be considered as doing a good deed and satisfying them. On the other side, Hao Dao had already found Tianyu, but he did not disturb Tianyu. Instead, he waited for Tianyu to recover his strength. Tianyu also sensed Hao Dao's arrival and understood Hao Dao's purpose, so he quickly recovered his cultivation. Everyone's gazes were focused here. They understood that an earth-shattering battle would erupt soon. Because Tianyu had just defeated Mielu, the possessor of the Emperor's Star, his popularity was very high. Therefore, many people thought that Tianyu would definitely defeat Hao Dao. However, some people did not think so. Hao Dao's origin was very mysterious. Moreover, he had the Heaven and Earth Divine Blade, which was a supreme weapon in the God realm. Moreover, they had never seen him use his true power. It must be known that the 6th-ranked Devourer only made him use his blade. His strength was simply unfathomable. It was very likely that he would defeat Tianyu. After a few hours, Tianyu quickly recovered his strength. He looked at Hao Dao and said calmly, "It's done." Hao Dao revealed a smile. "Then let's begin." The two of them stood on one side. Lan Lu also moved far away, so as not to disturb the battle between the two. The atmosphere outside the secret realm was immediately ignited. Countless people's faces became filled with excitement. Boom! Tianyu held the crystal sword in his hand and exploded with a huge amount of World God's power. His body emitted a 7-colored light, and a huge pressure enveloped the surroundings. Boom! Hao Dao also took out the Heaven and Earth Divine Blade. It was the first time that Hao Dao had taken out the Heaven and Earth Divine Blade so early. This showed Hao Dao's respect for Tianyu. A huge platinum aura spread out, forming a wild wind. Clang! A sword hum suddenly sounded out. Tianyu was the first to attack. His body instantly disappeared, and he rushed in front of Hao Dao with a shocking aura. His sword gave off a rainbow sword light as it slashed towards Hao Dao. Tianyu also understood that Hao Dao was very terrifying. He might even be stronger than Mielu, giving him a huge pressure, so Tianyu also attacked with all his strength. Bang! Hao Dao had a smile on his face as he used his saber to block. He easily blocked the sword that Tianyu swung at him, creating a sonic boom. Tian Yu originally wanted to press down on Hao Dao with his sword, but Hao Dao pushed hard, sending Hao Dao flying. Furthermore, with a wave of the blade in his hand, a powerful platinum blade light slashed towards Tian Yu. Tian Yu reacted very quickly. He used the sword in his hand to block in front of him, blocking the blade light. However, his body was forced back a few steps. Hao Dao had a smile on his face as he held his saber and rushed towards Tian Yu. With a wave of his hand, a fierce blade light slashed towards Tian Yu. Tian Yu dodged to the side and avoided the attack. A huge rainbow aura flame ignited from Tian Yu's body. Tian Yu swung the sword in his hand, and a rainbow aura flame sword light slashed towards Hao Dao with a terrifying power. Hao Dao still had a smile on his face and looked relaxed. He retracted the saber in his hand and used it to block in front of him. He blocked Tian Yu's attack and took 2 steps back. This person caused Tian Yu's expression to become even more unsightly. His opponent's strength was far more terrifying than he had imagined. Boom! At that moment, Tian Yu exploded with even more intense power. The aura flame on his body became even larger, forming a rainbow bird formed from the aura flame. It emitted a powerful world energy. Tian Yu swung the sword in his hand, and the rainbow bird flew towards Hao Dao with terrifying power. It was extremely fast and arrived in front of Hao Dao in the blink of an eye. Hao Dao extended a hand, and a platinum energy barrier appeared, enveloping Hao Dao's body. Bang! A huge explosion sounded out. When the bird arrived in front of Hao Dao, it exploded. Countless rays of light shot in all directions, and a terrifying power spread out, causing the ground to collapse. The shockwaves spread out, and a crater that was hundreds of meters wide appeared on the ground. Hao Dao, who was standing in the center, did not receive any damage. Not even a crack appeared on the platinum barrier. Boom! Tian Yu's expression was somewhat solemn. He once again exploded with world energy. This world energy fused with the heaven and earth, causing the heaven to seem to control the world energy. Clang! Tian Yu swung his sword, and a huge rainbow sword light with astonishing power slashed towards Hao Dao. Hao Dao also swung with force. A huge platinum sword light slashed out and slashed towards Hao Dao with powerful power. Bang! A huge sound rang out. The 2 sharp lights collided and exploded again. Countless sword lights and sword lights shot out and formed a strong wind. Suddenly, Tian Yu charged out from the explosion. His body emitted a rainbow light that dyed the surroundings colorful. He was extremely fast. He arrived in front of Hao Dao and raised the sword in his hand. World energy surged into it at that moment. He swung his sword, and a rainbow sword light slashed out with terrifying world energy. Bang! Hao Dao was sent flying by the sword. He flew back more than 10 meters before stopping. His expression became slightly serious and was not as relaxed as before. Tian Yu continued to charge towards Hao Dao with his powerful world energy. Boom! Hao Dao picked up his long saber and also exploded with terrifying power. He swung with force, and a huge saber light slashed towards Tian Yu with a huge saber wind. Clang! Tian Yu slashed with the sword in his hand. A sharp sword light slashed out and split the huge saber wind into 2. His body continued to charge towards Hao Dao. Hao Dao stood where he was and did not move a single step. A huge power surged into the saber in his hand. The saber emitted a terrifying saber light, and the surrounding space slightly distorted. Tian Yu also poured a terrifying power into the sword in his hand. The sword also emitted an intense rainbow light, and a shocking power spread out. Tian Yu quickly charged in front of Hao Dao and slashed out with his sword. At that moment, Hao Dao also swung the long saber in his hand with force and brought out a terrifying saber light. Bang! A huge explosion sounded out. The 2 terrifying powers collided, and a huge explosion occurred. Countless rays of light shot out in all directions, and a terrifying destructive power spread out. The ground within a radius of several thousand meters instantly collapsed. Hao Dao and Tian Yu were pushed back more than 10 meters by the power and blood flowed out from the corners of their mouths. At this moment, Hao Dao's expression became even more serious. Tianyu's expression became even more serious. Boom! A huge explosion sounded out. Hao Dao exploded with a very terrifying aura. A powerful power surged into the long saber in his hand. The long saber emitted a platinum light, and countless sharp saber lights surged out. The platinum saber lights gathered in front of the saber and formed a ball of light. A power that could split the heavens and the earth spread out. The space slightly distorted and the ground constantly cracked. Chapter 22-29. Before, Hao Dao had used this move to get rid of the 6th-rank Devourer, showing just how terrifying it was. The ball of light formed by the blade light became larger and larger, and the power it gave off became more and more terrifying. An intense gale continuously blew out. Boom! Tianyu did not dare to be careless and exploded out with a massive wave of world energy. The power in the surroundings also quickly flowed into Tianyu's body. Tianyu raised the sword in his hand, and a massive aura flame flowed out. This massive rainbow-colored aura flame continuously condensed in the sky, forming a massive rainbow-colored divine dragon that gave off a terrifying power. The surroundings could feel a powerful might. Boom! Hao Dao swung the blade in his hand, and the massive ball of light formed by the blade light shot out with the power to cut through all things. The surrounding space and ground seemed to be cut apart by the blade. Roar! Tianyu vigorously slashed out with his sword, and the massive rainbow-colored divine dragon gave off a massive dragon roar. It gave off a destructive world energy and a massive aura as it rushed towards Hao Dao. Bang! A shocking explosion sounded out as the two of them once again clashed with terrifying power, resulting in an intense explosion. A blinding ball of light instantly spread out. The ground, trees, stones, flowers, and grass were instantly devoured and turned into nothingness. A wild gale blew out, causing countless sand and stones to be blown away. Many trees vigorously swayed, creating a very, very terrifying scene. The ground violently trembled, and the sky was covered by a layer of haze. Waves of terrifying aura continuously surged out like a tide. The countless people in the secret realm also sensed this terrifying aura. Their bodies felt cold, as if they were soaked in icy water, and they all looked shocked. Are these two peerless experts fighting? Within the black energy barrier, Zhao Fu was playing with the thing in front of Mielu's chest. Mielu's face was completely red as she powerlessly lay in Zhao Fu's embrace. At that moment, they also sensed this terrifying aura, and they all looked shocked. Zhao Fu also stopped and looked towards the direction of the ripples. Zhao Fu did not need to go over to see to know that those two people were fighting. Only two people fighting would cause such terrifying ripples. They were Tianyu and Hao Dao. Mielu came back to her senses and looked at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes as she said, "Are you done playing with me? I want to see the two of them fight." Zhao Fu lightly laughed. "Of course I haven't had enough. Also, if you want to see their fight, you don't have to go over." As he spoke, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand, and a terrifying wave of 10,000 godly power shot out. A rainbow-colored light spread out in the air, and a simple white mirror appeared. This mirror was just like the mirrors outside, and an image appeared within it. It was the location where Dao and Zhao. Mielu was surprised. He didn't expect Zhao Fu to have this ability. In addition, when he sensed that terrifying surge of divine power, he understood that this was because Zhao Fu had fused the divine power of 24 Sovereign's might, which was why he had this sort of ability. Shen Qianhua, who was not wearing any clothes, leaned against Zhao Fu's other side and asked curiously, "Husband, who do you think will win? Is it Tianyu, the most powerful person in the immortal world, or is it that mysterious person who wields the divine blade of heaven and earth?" Zhao Fu smiled and answered without hesitation, "Of course it's that mysterious man." Seeing how confident Zhao Fu was, Mielu also said, Is that mysterious person really that terrifying? Tian Yu has an emperor star and is slightly more powerful than me. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "You'll understand when you continue watching." Hearing this, the women also looked at the mirror. This scene was quite erotic, and the women were not wearing any clothes as they sat around Zhao Fu. Looking at the image in the mirror, at that moment, the ripples spread out, and an enormous crater appeared in the ground. On one side of the crater, Tian Yu's mouth was covered with blood, and he stood up from the ground in a somewhat wretched manner. On the other side, there was no sign of Tian Yu, and everyone looked for where Tian Yu was. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as countless rainbow-colored lights shot out from a pile of rubble, and countless rubble were sent flying. Tian Yu gave off an intense rainbow-colored light as he rose up from the ground, looking like a rainbow-colored sun that shined in all directions. World energy continuously flowed into Tian Yu's body, causing Tian Yu's body to go through changes. His hair became rainbow-colored, a rainbow-colored mark appeared on his forehead, and his eyes became rainbow-colored glass eyeballs. A formless power spread out from his body, covering the entire world, forming a formless might. He seemed to be the ruler of a world, and that terrifying aura made people want to kneel and worship him. Xing! Tian Yu stood in the air and grabbed with one hand, causing a crystal sword to automatically fly into Tian Yu's hand. Tian Yu raised the sword and sent a massive amount of power into it, causing it to give off boundless rainbow-colored sword light that covered the heavens and earth. Boom! Zhao Fu slashed out, and an enormous rainbow-colored sword light containing destructive power instantly slashed against Hao Dao's body, resulting in a massive explosion and causing countless rubble to shoot out. However, when the countless sword lights dissipated, Hao Dao was completely fine. Hao Dao's body was now emitting a platinum light, and his body was emitting strands of saber chi. There were 4 saber images floating in 4 directions around him, emitting an extremely terrifying saber power that caused people's hairs to stand on end. Tian Yu was startled. He never thought that Hao Dao would only use his true power now, and that he would be able to block his attack so easily. Xing! Hao Dao's eyes looked at Tian Yu in the sky, and he waved a saber in his hand. An enormous long saber light carrying a terrifying saber power slashed towards Tian Yu like a hot knife through butter, creating a belt of light in the air. Tian Yu stretched out a hand, and a powerful wave of world energy surged out. An enormous circular rainbow-colored shield of light appeared, and within it was the image of a world. It emitted a massive aura as it blocked in front of him. Bang! The rainbow-colored shield of light blocked the terrifying long saber light. Countless saber lights scattered, and a few cracks appeared on the shield of light. Shio! 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 Suddenly, 4 air-piercing sounds rang out, and the 4 saber images floating beside Hao Dao instantly shot out with an astonishing saber power. Bang! A massive sound rang out, and the 4 saber images carried a terrifying power as they slashed apart the circular shield of light. The shield of light shattered into pieces. Boom! A massive explosion rang out, and Hao Dao also raised the saber in his hand and slashed out a huge long river of saber light. It carried the power to slash apart the heavens and the earth, and it ferociously slashed towards Tian Yu. The momentum was huge, and the scene was extremely shocking. Chapter 22:30. There was no way to dodge this massive river of saber light, so Tian Yu could only choose to block it. He sent all of his power into the sword in his hand, causing it to give off countless rays of intense sword light. It was like a sun, and countless rainbow-colored sword lights illuminated the surroundings. Boom! The moment the river of saber light arrived, Tian Yu vigorously slashed out, and a terrifying rainbow-colored sword energy slashed out, causing the space around it to instantly shatter. Bang! A massive explosion once again sounded out as the 2 waves of power collided, resulting in a massive explosion. Countless rays of blinding light shot out, and a terrifying gale containing shocking power blew out. Just as the countless rays of light spread out, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Tianyu, and a massive saber energy slashed towards Tianyu. Tianyu felt quite startled, and he used his sword to block Hao Dao's attack. Boom! However, in the next moment, another Hao Dao appeared behind Tianyu, and it vigorously slashed towards him with its saber. Tianyu hurriedly dodged to the side, avoiding this attack. Boom! In that instant, a third Hao Dao appeared next to Tianyu, and its saber contained terrifying power as it slashed down Tianyu from the sky. Tianyu's body was like a rapidly falling meteor as it heavily smashed into the ground, creating a large crater. Countless rocks shot out, and dust filled the air. The three Tianyus in the sky looked down, preparing to continue attacking. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive rainbow-colored aura flame spread out from the dust, blowing away the dust and revealing Tianyu's body. Tianyu's body continuously surged out with rainbow-colored aura flames, and a massive world's power continuously spread out. Tianyu's body started to become illusory, as if he had truly fused with the world. The ground continuously collapsed, and space started to twist. Finally, a blurry and indistinct figure with rainbow-colored hair and eyes appeared. The surrounding space continuously twisted, and that figure seemed illusory. Waves of terrifying world energy spread out, controlling the world within it. It was like the heavenly Tao that controlled everything. The three Hao Daos in the sky were not afraid at all. With a terrifying aura, they charged at Hao Dao like 3 rays of light. Tianyu's expression was cold as he stepped forward, bringing with him a massive amount of world force. Boom! In that instant, world energy gathered, forming a massive foot in the sky, and it gave off immense power as it stomped down on the ground. Bang! The huge foot directly trampled on the 3 Hao Daos who were rushing over. The ground caved in, and a huge footprint appeared on the ground. It was more than 2,000 meters long, and a strong wind spread out. Boom! In the next second, a huge blade light with a terrifying power rushed into the sky, chopping the huge foot into pieces and dissipating. Hao Dao appeared in front of everyone in a sorry state, and the other 2 Hao Daos dissipated at this time. Hao Dao brought with him a massive amount of power as he continued to rush towards Tianyu. Tianyu stretched out a hand, and boundless world energy flowed out. A massive arm clenched into a fist, and it gave off a power that could destroy everything as it punched forwards, bringing with it an intense storm. Hao Dao sent a massive amount of power into the saber in his hand, and the saber gave off boundless blade light as he vigorously swung it. Boom! A massive crescent saber light containing terrifying power slashed against the incoming arm. The arm was once again slashed apart, turning into countless motes of light and dissipating. Hao Dao continued to rush towards Tianyu. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Tianyu's body gave off an intense rainbow-colored light. A head giving off a massive aura appeared in the air above the crater. The head was 1 meter wide, and it was a man's head. Its appearance was quite hazy, and it could not be seen clearly. However, its eyes were rainbow-colored, and they were cold and did not contain a trace of emotion. The head's eyes were cold and emotionless as it looked at Hao Dao, and it spoke, lightning. Boom, boom, boom. Massive bolts of blue lightning appeared on the ground, bringing with them terrifying power. Hao Dao slashed down from the sky, and there were many of them. The sound of thunder was deafening, as if it wanted to destroy everything. Hao Dao's gaze gave off a trace of coldness, and a terrifying power flowed into the saber. Hao Dao raised the saber in his hand, and countless platinum-colored saber chi flowed out like a tide, forming a massive platinum-colored lion made of saber chi, giving off a mighty, sharp, and terrifying aura. Roar! The saber in Hao Dao's hand slashed down, and the platinum-colored lion gave off a massive roar. It brought with it a terrifying saber chi as it rushed towards Tianyu, giving off a sense of oppression. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the countless bolts of blue lightning collided with a massive platinum-colored lion. The countless bolts of blue lightning were shattered by the platinum-colored lion's power, turning into countless arcs of lightning and disappearing. The platinum-colored lion gave off massive power as it ferociously charged towards Tianyu. Seeing the platinum-colored lion come out, the head once again spoke, "Shield." The world quickly gathered, forming a massive shield of light in front of the head. It was rainbow-colored, and it gave off a massive and firm aura. Boom! At that moment, the massive platinum-colored lion gave off terrifying power as it slammed into the shield. A powerful gale blew out, causing countless trees to sway and sand and stones to be blown away. A few massive cracks appeared on the shield of light, but it blocked the platinum-colored lion's attack, and the platinum-colored lion turned into countless saber chi and dissipated. Clang! A massive saber hum sounded out as Hao Dao suddenly appeared in front of the massive shield of light. He vigorously swung the saber in his hand, and a platinum-colored saber light that was thousands of meters long slashed out with shocking power, slamming into the shield of light like a thunderbolt. Bang! The massive shield of light was split in two, and the saber light continued to slash towards the head with terrifying power, shattering the head. Tianyu, who was below the head, was sent flying by the saber light. Everyone stared at this scene in shock, feeling that Hao Dao was simply too terrifying. It was evident that the battle was in Hao Dao's favor, and his power was even greater than Tianyu's. However, Tianyu had an Emperor Star and was the most powerful expert in the godly realm, and yet he could not compare to Hao Dao. Just what sort of terrifying identity did Hao Dao have, and why did he have such terrifying power? Before, everyone had thought that Hao Dao was inferior to Tianyu, and they had waited for Tianyu to easily defeat Hao Dao. However, things were not as they had expected. They had underestimated Hao Dao. He was far more terrifying than they had imagined. However, they could not be blamed for this, as Tianyu's power was simply too terrifying. Not only did he have the God race's Emperor Star, but he was also the #1 expert in the godly realm. He had even defeated the #1 expert in the godly domain, Mielu. If they did not believe him, who would they believe? A huge saber shadow appeared with a saber intent that could cut through all things, causing the surroundings to become extremely dangerous. Boom! Hao Dao slashed out with the saber. The saber shadow brought with it the power to cut through the heavens and earth as it slashed forward, directly cutting the massive bird tide in half. The terrifying saber energy cut the birds into pieces. However, there were still countless birds that quickly flew towards Hao Dao with terrifying power. Hao Dao unleashed a defensive barrier, and the birds exploded again and again, causing waves of explosive power to wreak havoc. The light scattered and a few cracks appeared on Hao Dao's defensive barrier. He was not injured at all. Suddenly, Tianyu appeared in front of Hao Dao and swung the sword in his hand. A sharp sword light slashed towards Hao Dao, directly cutting open Hao Dao's defensive barrier. The sword light continued to slash towards Hao Dao's body, but Hao Dao's body gave off a saber energy that blocked the sword light. His body was forced back a few steps. Tianyu charged forward at that moment, and his sword brought with it a sharp sword light as it stabbed towards Hao Dao. It was like a bolt of lightning, arriving in front of Tianyu in the blink of an eye. Boom! A huge saber energy burst out from Hao Dao's body. The sharp saber energy spread out in all directions, and the ground was instantly shattered by countless saber energy. Tianyu was forced back a few steps. Roar! A loud roar sounded out, and at that moment, countless saber energy surged out, turning into a huge, ferocious tiger. With a terrifying aura, it quickly charged towards Tianyu. Tianyu hurriedly used his sword to block. The sword gave off an intense light, forming a rainbow light shield. Bang! A dull sound rang out, and Tian Yu was sent flying dozens of meters away, but he did not receive any injuries at all. Boom! At this moment, the vast blade released a massive amount of saber chi. This saber chi formed 1-meter-long flying daggers, and each of them gave off a terrifying saber intent. They covered Tian Yu's surroundings, and there were tens of thousands of them. Clang, clang, clang. Hao Dao stretched out a hand and pressed down, causing saber hums to ring out. The countless flying sabers floating around Hao Dao all flew towards Tian Yu. They were extremely fast, leaving behind afterimages, as if they could shatter the world. Boom! Tian Yu exploded out with a massive amount of world energy. His body gave off countless rainbow-colored lights, as if he was a rainbow-colored sun, giving off a massive pressure. Swish, 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 the rainbow-colored sun shot out countless rainbow-colored beams of light, bringing with them an astonishing power as they shot towards God Hao Dao. They were also extremely fast, as if they could pierce through everything. Bang, bang, bang. Loud sounds rang out as the rainbow-colored lights clashed with the flying sabers, resulting in a series of explosions. Waves of terrifying power continuously wreaked havoc, causing the ground to continuously crack and wild gales to blow. The ripples gradually dissipated, and large craters that were hundreds of meters wide appeared on the ground. There were many of them, and they seemed to cover the entire ground. There were shattered wood and stones everywhere. Boom! Another massive explosion sounded out as Hao Dao once again raised the saber in his hand. Saber chi continuously surged out from the saber like a tidal wave. The saber chi spread out in all directions, causing cracks to appear on the ground and in the air. Boom! Tian Yu held the sword in one hand and poured a massive amount of world energy into it. The sword gave off countless sword lights, and a sword intent surged out, covering the heavens and earth. It gave off a massive might, and time seemed to stop. Boom! Hao Dao vigorously slashed out with his saber, and the saber chi that was like a tidal wave brought with it a power that could destroy everything as it ferociously surged towards Tian Yu. Everything in its path was devoured by the saber chi and turned into dust. Clang! Tian Yu slashed out with his sword, and an extremely sharp sword intent slashed forward. It was as if it could cut through everything, and nothing could stop it. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the two powers clashed together, resulting in a terrifying explosion. Countless saber chi and sword lights shot out in all directions, forming a massive storm that wreaked havoc in all directions. After everything calmed down, sword marks and saber marks appeared on the ground, covering the surroundings. The scene was extremely shocking. Tian Yu and Hao Dao were both sent flying dozens of meters, and their bodies suffered some injuries. Blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.